Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Landon Schmidt producing. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. A ton to get to after a busy weekend in the sports world. We'll talk about the Tigers. They won outright the AAC regular season championship Friday night with a win over USF. The Grizzlies, they won back-to-back games over the weekend. So much going on in the SEC around college basketball. Bunch of NFL news coming out today as well. So plenty to get into over these next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing great, and you're right about the NFL. They have hit the cash register, haven't they? They have the money.
They do.
The salary cap went to a extraordinarily high level this year, and they have to spend it.
Yes,
and they are.
No, they're spending it, and seeing a lot of these guys and the deals they're getting. I mean, Justin Fields to the Jets for $40 million over 2 years. You had J.C. Horn get paid big earlier today. Sam Darnold. It's the busy time. I mean, it is
DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I mean, it's full on off season, and it's a lot of fun seeing all these moves, and we'll see how they all fall into place. But right now, it feels like kind of the trickling of quarterbacks and everything that's happening right now. Quarterbacks are on the move.
Well, and the new league year started today, so
that's right. Yeah.
Really the road to Super Bowl 60 started today.
That's right, and you're seeing a lot of teams. I mean, heck, Josh Sweat, who just went to the Cardinals, a 4-year deal with the Cardinals. I mean, it's some big names out there getting some good deals.
Do you like free agent first, draft second like the NFL, or the NBA draft first, free agent second?
It's a great question.
Or does it work for both?
I think it works for both.
I do too.
And obviously I think anything the NFL does will work. And certainly for the NBA, I think the way they set it up with the draft, and then you immediately go into Summer League, and then that's kind of when all of the free agency stuff starts. I think it works really well for both.
And for both of them, I think more the NFL, if you're a team like Los Angeles and they get Devontae Adams, a team, maybe Pittsburgh getting DK, but they need more than just that.
Sure.
If you're close, if it's kind of win next year for you, I think you want to nail free agency more than the draft.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
We need a while. We need 2 or 3 years, like Carolina with Bryce Young that showed signs that he can get it done.
Definitely.
They got to nail the draft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a good point, because I think, you're certainly going to rely on those free agents and the veteran guys more than you rely on, these young guys in the draft. And so it gives you a better idea. In the NBA, you're kind of just out there, okay, well, this is what we look like now. This is what we should draft. And then based on that, you kind of go into free agency. So very different in different ways, but I think, works for both of them in different ways.
By this time, next Monday, we will have the full bracket in front of us.
Yes, we will.
We will know all the seeds, all the pods, if you win this. And by this time, every team will be accounted for as either look out for they're dangerous or they're a problem that they can make a run. Everybody will be covered.
Yep. Every team that makes the tournament is a team that could go for it all. They're that feisty team. You don't want to see them. Ooh, bad draw for whoever. It's always a lot of fun. I mean, that Sunday when you go from Selection Sunday and then just all of the coverage afterwards and reaction, it's a fun night, and it carries over into Monday. And so, next Monday, I'm really excited to see what this bracket looks like and break it down and see where the Tigers will be. Obviously, depending on where you want to go and look, depends on where they're at. But, we said it a couple weeks ago, and it's kind of staying that. Feels like anywhere between a 6 and an 8 is where they're going to fall. And what was it? Either last week or 2 weeks ago, it was Jerry Palm a 6, it was Joe Lunardi a 7, and it was our friend Shelby Mast an 8. Now it's Jerry Palm, who stayed consistent as a 6, our friend Shelby Mast a 7, and now Joe Lunardi with his latest as an 8. So it feels like somewhere in that range.
Who made brackets so sore at us?
I don't know. I mean, Joey B, what are you doing?
You lose him, it's over.
That's not the guy you want to lose, but here we are.
And we will visit with Shelby Mast today, as we do every Monday, from the Super Bowl through one shining moment. And he participated this weekend with a lot of other bracketologists, including Kerry Miller, that Greg and Eli have on, including bracket guy Dave, also Rocco Miller, and that's some pretty big names. Yeah. We'll find out from Shelby exactly what he learned and how all that fell out in looking for signs for for next Sunday with the committee, and I'm the first to say I do not want to pick at or be preachy-fied at Tiger fans that I think are rightly angry. Mm-hmm. Bryant, you know me well. People have listened to me know me, I think, pretty well. Playing against somebody is big to me. Mm-hmm. And when I see Ole Miss and Mizzou ahead of Memphis, a lot of places, one spot ahead, a couple, even more than that. Yeah. Is it everything? Of course not. Everything is November 4th through yesterday and continuing this week even. That's what they look at everything. But when it's this close, don't you have to go to that? And when you down at halftime and handle pretty easily Mizzou in the second half, and you thump Ole Miss by 17, shouldn't that be the tie go to the runner call?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and it's hard because, you go back to this conference that Memphis is playing in, and while Memphis had this great resume going in, it's only gotten worse. I mean, it hasn't gotten better. There's no way for it to improve. It's only gotten worse. Whereas Ole Miss and Missouri, they're just stacking quad one wins, and they're playing top 25
Can't
teams.
Swing a towel without running into one.
Exactly, and so it's tough.
Every game at the SEC tournament will be won except for games involving South Carolina and LSU.
That's insane. It's insane. So, I mean, when every single opportunity you have, it just, you just get better and you get better. Whereas the Tigers, I mean, they look up, they're playing no quad one opponents. They're barely playing any quad two opponents. It's a bunch of quad threes and quad fours, and, if you drop one or two of those, it hurts your resume, and that's kind of where they're at right now. I just saw this morning, I think I forgot who, I think Jason Munns posted it, that Wichita losing last night at home to Tulsa, that now drops them back to a quad three. So now 3 quad three losses for the Tigers.
Shouldn't it be the day you played and beat them though, or should it all be factored in playing the long game?
I personally think the long game, just with how long the season is and everything that kind of goes into it. But I see your side.
But you contributed to
sure
nipping away at them.
You did, and I mean it's one of those where I can see both sides of it. I'd probably lean to the season as a whole, just because. Like I said, you play, 33 games in a season, and that one game, while Memphis did win, I think what we've seen from those two teams when they got to conference play, I mean, they're beating a lot of really good teams.
Memphis wins on Friday.
Huge.
No, coming up this Friday.
Oh, this Friday. I thought you were talking going back to South Florida.
It was huge over South Florida. And my contention of what qualifies as a run, well, already the work done in March.
Yeah.
If, little kid word, a run in Fort Worth and a win, I think that qualifies as a run.
Definitely.
And an air of good feeling and already a successful year. But this coming Friday at Dickies Arena.
Oh, geez.
Tigers win Friday but lose Saturday. What's the seed?
8.
Tigers win Friday, win Saturday, lose Sunday. What's the seed?
7.
Tigers win the tournament. What's the seed?
7. Nothing's going to change. I mean, we know the bracket's going to be made because, again, and I always forget this, and I don't remember who I heard say this earlier. It was either Greg or it was Dave that reminded me that AAC championship game is the last game played.
Which I don't like.
They're already at the golf course by that time.
But that's for TV, and the Tigers can't control that. So there's no need in getting mad at anybody over it. We just all wish we could click our heels and it be different.
Oh yeah, I mean,
But it is not. That's not Ed Scott's fault. It wasn't Laird Veach's. It's not anybody's fault.
No, it's just. The way this contract is with television.
And just been stuck since start of conference play.
Sure.
Imagine, Brian, I think the San Francisco win is really big. You turn that around. You turn that into a loss, and it could have been.
Oh, man.
I don't think if you turn Clemson around, that hurts you as much.
No.
But you turn San Francisco into a loss and one more in league play.
Yeah. I mean,
what, you lose on Friday. I don't know that you. But none of that happened. I don't know why I don't know why I even brought that up.
No, I think it's a good point. I think
you can drive yourself crazy.
You
with
can,
all this.
but I also think it's credit to what this team did in non-conference. Because we were talking about before the season. Look how tough this non-conference schedule is. This is brutal. This is impossible. You'll be lucky if you go 500 in non-con. And they go out there and they dominate it. And so that gave them. We talk about this. Should they be ahead of Ole Miss? Should they be a 6? Should they be 8? Heck, they don't do all that work in non-conference. We're sitting here talking about they got to win the tournament and still would probably be on the bubble. And so, no, I think a lot of credit still needs to go to Penny Hardaway for the way he set the schedule up.
And on the Ole Miss game, again, by 17, if that's Ole Miss ball in the air, the errant shot at the buzzer, and the Tigers barely pull it out, okay.
Sure.
But 17?
It's a big win. It's a dominant win.
And I think so too. But we'll have bracket in hand next Monday, and starting on Thursday after we do our picks, Landon's going to do picks with us. He's going to have a bracket.
That's right.
It will break out.
Oh, the red marker.
The red Sharpie.
My least favorite.
It's ready.
My least favorite is the red Sharpie come tournament time. I'll tell you this. When I saw last night that Memphis gets the winner of Wichita State and USF, I wasn't excited.
Bring it on.
I wasn't excited.
I'm not worried about it.
I'll be the biggest USF fan
Is
on
it
Thursday.
a few weeks ago in Wichita, a couple Sundays in Wichita, or a year ago at Dickey's that worries you the most, or all of that?
I think it's all of it, and plus
it's all a fever nightmare.
The win at home. Don't forget that was a game
true.
Memphis had to claw its way back, and I think they ended up winning by 8 points. But up until that 4-minute media, it was terrifying.
Lost Friday. What's the seed? What did you say?
I think an 8.
Okay, well, so it's kind of where we are.
Yeah, but still.
And would give them all the justification they ever wanted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Then there's no reason to be mad.
No, but
yeah,
principle of it.
Sure.
Principles in the NCAA. Seriously.
Don't usually go well together, but.
And I heard Greg and Eli with a lively discussion this morning about the alternate bracket, the win-loss bracket.
Yeah.
Do they have one in case? And I'm with, and we talked about it with Greg last Thursday. I'm with Greg that I think most of the cake is baked.
Yeah.
I think the icing's put on it even.
It certainly feels like
by
it.
Sunday morning. And I'll just say, and it's not everyone I've ever dealt with in college sports. There are some really good ones, but a lot of them you never go broke shorting college administrators being the most lazy humans around.
Well,
because they're scared of everything. Mm-hmm. They're scared of the NCAA. They're scared of their boosters. They're scared of their coaches. They're scared of the media. They're scared of everything.
Yep.
And that they love the lowest hanging fruit ever. Mm-hmm. If they had to get on a small step ladder to reach branch 2 to get that shiny red apple, they don't want to do it.
No. So, yeah, I think, let's say North Texas gets to the championship game and they beat Memphis. That's the only time they would change something. They just take one of those teams that's on the bubble, switch it in with North Texas. All right, we're done here.
I just don't think there's many plan Bs. I don't.
I don't think so either. I think you're probably right. It just feels like we've seen year after year after year where something happens on a Sunday, and then you see the bracket and you go, okay, well, did they even watch that game? That doesn't feel like it matches. So I'm with you. I don't think. I think they have it ready Saturday night, and then they say, all right, let's enjoy our Sunday.
And this really gets going. The time change, selection Sunday, NCAA tournament, opening day of baseball. 4 weeks from today is the NCAA tournament, the national championship Monday, and the start of Masters Week.
Wow. Okay.
Spring is sprung.
Spring has sprung. Time change. It kicked my tail.
Did it?
Oh, man.
Did nothing to me.
Oh, man. It killed me.
I mean nothing.
Killed me.
I'm cruising with, rolling with it. Just nothing.
I wasn't right yesterday, and
it kicked me too.
I've
really
been right today.
Oh, it threw me off so hard.
Oh man, it kicked my tail. Bad. Told myself I was gonna go to bed early on Saturday night. I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna forget losing an hour of sleep.
Now look, if the key to it is going to bed early, then I got it whipped.
At least you planned for that. I didn't even know it was happening. I forgot daylight savings time was a thing.
Wow.
I changed.
Brett
locks.
doesn't want it to be a thing. Brett
Saturday.
wants us
No,
to
I want to
stay
stay right here on this one. In fact, everybody talks about it. It's kind of a 50-50 issue.
Yeah.
You can, a lot of people stay the other way. That was Saturday.
Sure.
A lot of
really?
people. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought if you
How
wanted
about
to
do
change
this? 30 minutes. If it's 50, if everybody kind of likes a little of both, this fall,
I guess
fall back 30 minutes.
Sure. That really messed me up. Holy cow. I don't know why, but I feel like 30 minutes would mess me up more than the hour would mess me up. I mean, because there have been times where I'll be awake when like my phone automatically changes the time, and I'll be like, "Whoa, what just happened there?" If it went back 30 minutes, that'd really mess me up.
One time I was at a Bama Tennessee game in Knoxville. It used to be earlier in the fall than it is now.
Yeah.
Now it's around first weekend in November. It used to be around third Saturday in October.
Sure.
Is when it was, and that year it might even been a later Tennessee Bama game. Anyway, I'm in Knoxville. Late game, but I'm going to push it all the way home after the game. I don't get 20 miles of West Knoxville and the huge pile up, long delay, 3 or 4 hours. Just sit solid still. Then, you right there around Carthage, where Al Gore grew up, is where the time changes.
Yeah.
And it was the weekend it was changing.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm changing back to Central.
Oh, man.
And head cold from hell. And been sitting still, nervous driving. Finally, just east of Nashville, I stopped somewhere, get a Coke and, something to eat. And I asked the person, I said, "Can you please just tell me what time it is? I have no clue."
So mixed up with the time. Yeah, no. It got me this weekend, I'll be honest. I've not been right since the time changed on Sunday morning. But no, we got a lot to get into today. So much happened over the weekend. So let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, talk about the Tigers, their win Friday night over USF. And with that win, Tigers, the champions of the AAC, really cool scene Friday night, seeing the team celebrate. We'll talk about that at 3:30. 3:45, talk about the Grizzlies. A 2-0 weekend for the Grizz after the 0-4 stretch they were on. 2-game win streak. They're back in action tonight against Phoenix.
Had to go to New Orleans, sober up as a team collectively.
Yeah, usually people don't go there to sober up, but Grizzlies sure did. A 2-0 weekend, really good weekend for the Grizzlies. We'll talk about that 3:45. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports. He'll join us, talk some college basketball. Like I said, a lot going on now. It's really conference tournament week with all the big conferences getting ready to start this week. A lot to get to with David Cobb. 4:30, Shelby Mast, our bracketologist from bracketwag.com. He today has Memphis as a 7 seed. We'll talk about why he has the Tigers at the 7, what would change based on how this week goes for the Tigers, everything else he has. Make sure you go check out his bracket, bracketwag.com. 4:45, we get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us. We'll talk about the Grizzlies. We'll talk this 2-game win streak, what to expect tonight against the Phoenix Suns. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending. And 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. It's their first ever preseason pool, spa, and patio event. It's going on right now at Family Leisure. Pools from $19.99, spas from $29.99. Cold plunge and swim spas, they're priced to move. And with this nice weather, don't forget about the patio furniture. Patio furniture sets starting at $799. And register to win either a free pool, spa, or patio set. Swing by there today and sign up at Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt. We are Sports Time. He's Brian. I'm Brett. And we're with you until 6 o'clock, and we want you to be a part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line, and all our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. Always from our Family Leisure studios, and I know they're glad it's springtime at Family Leisure, and always this hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2025 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, it's the Memphis Tigers and their win Friday night over USF. A late night tip, 8 o'clock on ESPN2, but with the win, the Tigers, the champions in the AAC. We knew earlier in the week a win over UTSA clinched at least a share, but with that win, they are the outright champs. Really cool scene to see them celebrate, to see Penny Hardaway celebrate. That's been a knock on him really ever since he took over at Memphis. When is he going to win the regular season championship in this conference, especially when you lose Houston, you lose UCF, you lose Cincinnati, and now you're thinking it's wide open. You know, UConn, way back when he first got the job, was still in your conference. All those teams are gone. When is he going to win this conference? Well, this year he's able to do it with a win over USF. A fun game, a game that really the Tigers won easily. The Tigers have not had trouble with USF. Throughout conference, we've seen you have had trouble with different teams, but it has not been an issue with USF this year. Shot 52.5% from the field, 40% from three. They were locked in, and then throughout the game, every time PJ Haggerty went to the line, one more year. Even after the game, they were chanting it. Everybody wants one more year of PJ Haggerty. I know Penny Hardaway wants one more year of PJ Haggerty, but now with that championship, they'll go down to Dickies Arena, the number 1 seed. We'll see what they can do. We talked about it just a second ago. They'll either get USF again or Wichita State, a team that they've struggled with this year, a team that knocked them out of the conference tournament last year, a team that beat them this year on the road. That'll be Friday at noon, but right now, hey, kick back and relax, get some rest, get that R&R, little recovery time, and get ready for Friday's game.
My top story, it doesn't feel like the Tigers can do much to hurt their seed or better their seed with the trip to Fort Worth, but you know what they can do? More nets around necks, more trophies, more team photos at midcourt holding up one finger, number 1. And whether it's a Friday or Saturday exit, I don't think that hurts the seeding or not. I don't think Sunday matters at all. 7 or 8 looks like it's in the offing. I think they have a strong case for a 6 and maybe a 5 with what things that develop around college basketball this week. But what it also proves again, I know people put a lot of self-worth, gratification around that noon Monday release of the AP poll. It means nothing. It means nothing. It does not factor in. It has never been on any worksheet ever in a committee room. Never. 1975, your ranking in AP didn't matter. Next Sunday is the only poll that matters in college basketball. I guess that top 16 a few weeks ago on a Saturday may have mattered, but the poll that matters now, Brian, it's a little bit like in politics. You see a lot of these bracketologists doing what a lot of well-known political pollsters do. You know, you're 6 months out from the election, you got somebody up 20 points. Well, you know it's not going to be a 20-point race. Well, about 3 months out, you got them up about 10. You know it's not going to be a 10-point race. About 2 weeks out, I got to get this right. Or I become the Des Moines Register poll from this year. I become a laughing stock.
That's right.
All these bracketologists now are really boiling it down. They want to get it right for the poll that matters Sunday at 5.
Yeah, I'll say this, you talk about the AP, how that doesn't matter. I know Jason Munns has brought it up with us. Mike DeCourcy was the first one earlier this year that I said, I didn't know it was this, that I could get it this easily. If you want to know what the committee is looking at, WarrenNolan.com. You can go on there, look at their net rankings. There's a little tab that says net nitty gritty, and there's a little tab you can hit. It brings up the team sheet for every single team in college basketball. That's exactly what the committee is looking at. It tells you everything you need to know. Quad wins, what they are in T rank, KPI, all of that. It has it right there. You can go and look.
Where does that have Memphis?
I would have to look. I don't have it right in front of me.
We'll get it next segment.
Yeah, we'll get in. I will look it up in the break. But it's right there. Go look at that instead of the people.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day, it's the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, the feeling we had last Thursday, last Friday, even watching that game at times Friday night against Dallas on the road, I was going,
three quarters last night.
Yeah, but I mean, when the thought of losing 5 in a row, and especially to that Dallas team that is so injured, was barely playing anybody. There were jokes going around on social media before. I think a couple guys were still in the locker room, and there was a video where only 7 guys were out on the court taking shots pregame for Dallas.
Playing small.
Well, yes, that is true. I think they ended up playing 8 or 9 guys, but still, that visual to think of losing that and falling to 5 straight wins, but that didn't happen. They beat the Mavericks 122-111. They beat the Pelicans last night. It was very close. It was very scary at times, but they get the win. Now, back-to-back wins. John Morant has played really well. Back-to-back 30-point games for him. Last night, him and Desmond Bane, what they were doing, playing off of each other was impressive. So, some confidence for these guys. Now tonight, you come back home and you see the Suns team that they're a mess, but you've played 3 really close games against them. We'll see what happens
It'll
tonight.
take 130 to beat them.
Yeah, it sure will.
We know they're going to score.
You know it.
And against that Grizzlies defense, my not top story, it's the time of the year that every TV analyst says, fill in the blank, so-and-so will be a tough out. And every team should be in the NCAA tournament. TV analysts, I'm not talking about talk radio show hosts, and I'm not talking about like the kind of like Get Up or even First Take or even Pardon the Interruption. Those will take a stance. You won't hear during the game when they flash the graphic of all the rankings of net and in or out.
Right.
You won't hear one analyst all week say that team shouldn't be in. Not one. Everybody, I mean, it's a 200-team bracket according to everybody on TV, and also the time of year that every coach should get a raise, no coach should get fired.
Yep.
Well, now, wait a second. If nobody gets fired, and every coach should get a promotion.
Yep.
Well, how do you get a promotion if nobody gets fired?
Yeah.
And you won't hear any criticism of any coach. I swear, listening to the conversation of the breaking news yesterday of Kevin Keats being fired a year after going to the Final Four, doesn't sound like it's real fair, but we'll get more into it. I think the NC State brass judged him more on a body of work of about 50 games instead of a good about 8-game run last year that got him to the Final Four. But hearing the conversation about him this weekend, I'm convinced that coming up in the Easter season, he's going to be named the 13th disciple.
Wow.
Because
high praise.
Every analyst had to say, great coach, Final Four last year, and even a better fella.
I love that. Every coach on the planet,
even a better
coach,
person,
even a better person.
I thought water to wine, walks on water.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear that coach. Great coach. Never want to be around him.
Horrible human.
Terrible. I mean, he's just a despicable
His
human
own family doesn't like him.
Exactly.
We won't get close to that. I promise you. I thought he was gonna join be the 13th disciple by the end of the weekend.
You're right though. You always, and we'll get it again this year where Selection Sunday will have. Maybe not. I mean, this bubble is awful, but you'll get somebody that says, so and so really should have been in there, but you never hear they should replace that team. It's always this team should be in, but nobody should be out. All the teams deserve to be in.
And I'm scared.
But that team deserves
I'm scared to do it with everything that he's recovered from. I don't want a broadside of Dick Vitale because if something happened to him, I don't want to feel because Dick Vitale has been great for the game.
Oh, he's great.
But I love on Selection Sunday, particularly when it after like the network show when they get to the ESPN show.
Yeah.
He's the champion of the little guy. You couldn't make him go to a High Point game for anything. But on Selection Sunday, why didn't Vermont get in? And he's always the champion of the little guy on Selection Sunday.
Yeah, well.
And I love him, and thank you for your contribution to the game. I don't want anything to happen to him.
I might write down, what analysts picked which small mid-major team for the tournament. Look out for that
Please
team.
not let anything happen to Vital.
Yeah, no.
Well, a guy in Memphis is ripping on Vital yesterday.
Geez.
No, I'm not.
No. Just making an observation. Well, that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we return, we'll talk about the Tigers and them winning the AAC. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56. Sports 56 and 95 FM.
Owning your own home is wonderful, and buying your own home can be wonderfully easy. If your agent is Margie O'Neill of Remax Expert, Margie has over 20 years of experience in helping folks just like you find their new home. Buyer's market, seller's market, up or down markets, Margie has sold them all with a dedication that makes it easy for you to buy your new home. Margie O'Neill at Remax.net. That's MARGIE.ONEAL at Remax.net. Or call 901-685-6000 for your new home. Margie O'Neill makes it easy. When you're hungry for good meat, trust the family that has been feeding you this since 1967. Charlie Hogan and Triangle Meat Company. Trust Triangle Meat for fresh beef, hamburger, and roast. Trust Triangle Meat for delicious pork ribs, chops, and buns. And trust Triangle Meat for temperature and no run. Any lots of work, Triangle Meat Company has all the meat you need. Shop Triangle Meat Company, 8 to 5, Monday through Saturday, 4790 Summer Avenue, 901-683-1112. Fresh or frozen, big or small, trust Triangle Meat Company.
Wally Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelet, breakfast Sammys, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf are one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
Sports 56 traffic.
Midtown traffic starting to build 240 south at South Parkway, working your way down past Norris. It's been moving over here today, at least so far on 55 north and southbound in the construction zone as you work your way up past South Parkway. Hey, Weiber's Jewelry 7525 Highway 64 is your full service, family owned jewelry store right here in the Memphis area. I'm Commander Chuck with your on time traffic.
So the Tigers did it Friday night, a win over USF. They got to cut down the nets afterwards because they were the winners of the AAC. I was just telling you, I mean, the excitement from Tiger fans was really fun to see.
Champions.
Friday night. I mean, champions. One of my best friends
you play for?
texted me all night Friday night. I can't believe we won. That was he was there. He's like, that was so much fun. I mean, just seeing Penny Hardaway cut down the net.
And it was a great crowd. It was over 10,000.
Really good crowd.
And I want people to remember something. Most places in college basketball, every place except for Kentucky and Tennessee would take 10,000. Most places don't hold that.
No. I was just about to say, I mean, you look at capacity at a lot of these places.
In the SEC.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's way
really
less.
good crowd Friday night.
Yeah, really, really solid crowd. And team came out and looked good. I mean,
your friends were excited?
My friends were very excited.
They should be.
They were very excited. Tried to go after some other teams, the fans.
Time of year.
That we're friends with.
If you can talk it, you can talk it. If you can't, Red Sharpie.
Red Sharpie tried to rope me into it. I was like, I'm just over here.
Y'all please leave me out of this.
I was at the gym. He's like, Brian, tell him. I was like, I'm going to keep working.
You're the sports guy. Tell him.
Exactly. I was like, no, thank you. But no, a really good win, really fun. And, like I said with my top story, I mean, really, I mean, just happy for Penny Hardaway to have that
sure.
moment, and because that's been a criticism.
What a difference
of
a
him.
year makes.
It really is, and to see, I know he was on with Greg and Eli last week, and kind of said after last year, I mean, walking around, I mean, just felt disappointed, felt like everyone was mad at
Things
me
changed.
that we got booted, and we had such a bad end of the year, and so to go from that to now having that, being able to cut down the nets at home and be the regular season conference champions, just really cool to see for him. And now, you go to Dickey's Arena, and we'll see what the conference tournament looks like.
Great season. Brian, let's go back a year.
Okay.
Let's go back about not quite 52 weeks. It was after the Wichita State loss, and the week after that, and the weeks after that. And there were some around town talking firing. Mm-hmm. We didn't. Mm-hmm. We never did. No. I was adamant that he shouldn't be.
Right.
He's not going to be, and he wasn't. Mm-hmm. But from me, a lot of criticism.
Yep.
I don't regret any of the criticism. Mm-mm. But I am really glad that I didn't make a fool of myself calling for him being fired.
No, I think
because he wasn't going to be, he shouldn't have been.
No, and I think
this is why.
Yeah, I think the criticism was fair. Last year, the way that season ended, the way that team just completely imploded, there was criticism to be handed out. But this day and age of college basketball, you wipe that slate clean. You go, okay, we're going to try to bring in the best team we can next year. And he did that, and he went out there, and he got guys that I think when they brought some of these guys in, we were going, okay, how does this fit? I remember a lot of people, and we talked about it before the season, okay, this probably isn't as flashy of a roster as you had last year, as you've had in previous years, but let's see how they mesh together. And this team has meshed together way better than, I would say, any Penny Hardaway team. And you're seeing the results out there. I mean, to go out there and get a dominant big like Dane Danger, to go out there and get a dominant guard like PJ Haggard, to go out and get a veteran like Tyrese Hunter, you put all of those pieces together, and everyone else they brought in, it felt like from the very beginning of the year, this team bought into those roles, and there was no issue at all in that locker room.
And remember, with the announcement around Haggerty, the announcement around Rogers, a lot of people picked it. He was putting together the AAC All-Stars. Mm-hmm. The changer for me, I didn't know one thing about Dane Danger.
Right.
Let me just be honest.
Sure.
The changer for me was Hunter.
Hunter was
I
huge.
knew he was, and I know Ole Miss wanted him.
Yeah.
Because he had him at Texas.
Definitely.
And I knew he was cold-blooded winner.
Mm-hmm. No, he's won everywhere he's gone. Brett, would it surprise you? Would it disappoint you? Would it? I don't know what I think this would do to you if I told you.
Rarely am I disappointed.
That is true, but you might be at this. I have a list on my computer of AAC players from this year that I would not mind Penny Hardaway going after.
I think you should.
I mean, he's gone after guys in the conference every year.
That's very smart.
So I have a list of guys that.
Who's at the top?
At the top is the kid from Wichita, number 6, Washington, I think's his last name. Kid, I mean, just soaring for rebounds, is a pretty nice scorer.
Well,
it's my guy.
Again, I'm invoking this, not always being the Ole Miss guy. It's what I know, not the best, but I'm familiar with.
Sure.
Lane says all the time that it's like in the NFL. In the NFL, you know the players in your division better than anybody else in football. And when come free agent time, you know that's the guy that you do want or you don't want.
Absolutely.
And he said the same in college football with his poaching, with his getting players from Arkansas. He knows that they can play because he's playing against them. He's watching reels of film in the offseason and getting ready to play them. The week of, mountains of information about them. And then the week after you watch to grade it, to review it, so you see more of them than anyone. That's where it should start.
Oh, absolutely.
And at a place like Memphis that's more attractive to go to than Wichita or Tulsa or you name any other place, it makes sense. So Penny put it together and he made it all work.
Absolutely.
When we did preseason predictions, I was 22-9, 8-5 non, 14-4. In conference. They blew through both of those.
Yep.
You kind of knew after blowing through 9 that they were going to do it in conference.
Absolutely.
I thought they might slip back to 15-3, but 16-2. And there's not a single game out there that was won I think you could completely turn into a loss. Maybe overtime at Clemson. Maybe that one. But the rest of those was a win is a win is a win. They
Sure.
If you watch UConn, if you watch Michigan State, the game control, in charge team was Memphis. Those games I mentioned, San Francisco, even UNLV, none.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and that's the thing. I think there was there's a stat, and I don't remember the exact number, so I'm not even going to try. But the stat of Memphis and them winning games when leading with 5 minutes left. It's incredible. And I think that, is just reflective of there are not many close games where Memphis got into and they were leading and then, they just fall apart at the end of the games. This team did a really good job controlling pace, and when they had leads, when they were in control of games, nothing happened. And we saw, the opposite of that last year where they'd be in control, they'd be leading, and then something would happen in the second half and the team would kind of fall apart. And so, just super impressed with how this team was able to come together this year and play off of each other.
Are you one of those that saves every text and the whole chain from the beginning?
I, for the most part, yes.
I'm not. I delete everything, and I don't want you to have to dig through your phone and find it. But I know I went. It was the only Tiger game I went to in person all year. Went to the Friday night game against Ohio.
Yeah.
The Tigers had opened that Monday night against Mizzou, and I wasn't that knocked over by that win. I'm still thinking 0-19 Mizzou.
I mean, yeah.
I'm still generalizing, stereotyping Dennis Gates' club more from last year than
and that was a weird game. I remember that was.
It was.
Missouri kind of led in the second half. It was a weird game.
So then the Tigers won. That wasn't that was a couple of Mondays before that. That was Monday the 4th. And then they beat UNLV out there. That didn't do too much for me, but okay. So I go to that game on Friday night, and I know I text you. I know I text you this because I talked about it the next week a little, that the Tigers are a little better than I thought they were.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of what we thought at the beginning of the season. It's okay.
So, that 22-9 I thought would be about maybe 24-7.
Sure.
They blow through.
Oh, man. Blew through it. And, I think we talked about, you think about some of those games, especially early in non-conference. Missouri, kind of a weird game. I remember the UNLV game. They're down at halftime and didn't play great at halftime. The South Florida game where they come out of the gates and like 5 minutes in, San Francisco is up like 21-6, and you're going, oh man, this is a terrible start for Memphis.
That was a big win.
That was a really big win, and so early in the season it was a lot of this really starting slow, bad first halves, but then second half Memphis is all over you, and so understandable maybe this team's a little bit better, but who knows? And then from there just
Maui woke up everyone.
Oh, Maui is huge. You go out there and just the idea of having to start with UConn, but you go out there, you beat them. Next game, Michigan State, and I thought Michigan State was a completely different team back then than what they are now. But you go out there, you beat Michigan State, and then you just run into the buzzsaw. That is Auburn. But no, that was it. That woke people up.
Buzzsaw everyone.
Oh man, it's just
it's theirs to lose.
Yeah, the line of teams that did not get just torn
16-4
by them. Yeah, it's incredible. And that's the thing. You look today at Jerry Palm, you look today at Joe Lunardi, both of them have Auburn still as the number 1 overall seed in their bracketology after losing back-to-back games. And it's all because of how many quad 1 wins they have, because they continue to just dominate everybody they play.
Tonight, an Arkansas State win and they get the automatic bid for the Sun Belt. I think that helps the perception of the Tigers. Yeah. Okay, they lost to them, but they lost to an NCAA tournament team.
For sure, yeah, and I think that's something we've talked about really all year. Is this is a super well coached Arkansas State team. They've got talented guys on their team. They are a good mid-major team. Now it didn't help that the Sun Belt was a pretty good conference. They kind of struggled at the end of the season in a couple of games. But yeah, if they can win tonight, if they can get that championship and punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament, then you're looking up and yeah, that is just count up all the teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament from that non-conference schedule and then add on Arkansas State. I think that definitely helps.
Arkansas State and Troy tonight in Pensacola, regular season, they split. They each won at the other one's place.
Really?
Troy won in Jonesboro,
Wow.
and Arkansas State won at Troy.
Okay. Yeah, no, I remember watching the game at Arkansas State. That was a big one. Packed out gym. I think Arkansas State was on a home win streak, maybe.
ASU drew about 5,500 average this year.
Yeah, I mean, they had some really good crowds, and that one was a packed out game. So yeah, no, I mean, I think they're a good team. I'm going to be rooting hard for them tonight to win that game. And yeah, I don't know how much. I don't think you're going to wake up if Arkansas State wins tonight. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and Memphis has jumped up a seed line on bracketology. But when you're looking at those games,
but that committee should have more of a feel for this, other than just a bunch of computer printouts.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. But we've talked about this committee before. I mean,
I want interpersonal relations committee, not just all a bunch of computer science majors in there.
Yeah, I think, and I think that's another thing of with mid majors. I think they just kind of wait until that team punches their ticket, and then they go, okay, where are we going to put them? I don't think they're. I'm not betting that the selection committee's having watch parties for Omaha or Arkansas State. I think it's, hey, Arkansas State just won their conference. Where should we put them? Okay, yeah.
Somewhere.
12? Okay, cool, yeah.
I don't think that's right, but if we go to a bigger tournament, I think that squeezes them out more.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because the bigger tournaments to get more SEC, Big Ten,
and that's I think
ACC in.
We've talked to guests and we've talked about it that I think if you do expand, you'd like to see some of these really good mid-major teams. I know yesterday Bradley and Drake played. There were a lot of people going, this should be both these teams should get in, and I think that would be the hope for an expanded. But we know you add more spots, that's going to the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10. It's going
More's
to the big
not
boys.
going to be for them.
No, it's for the big boys, and so that's the way it's going. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what this Tiger team can do down in the conference tournament. Again, Friday at noon, their first game. They'll get the winner of either USF or Wichita State. That game obviously played on Thursday. Let's get to another break, and when we return, we'll talk about the Grizzlies, their 2-0 weekend. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
It's putt-putt time. The weather's getting right for a little time outside. Putt-Putt Golf and Games Driving Range is a good place to be. At Putt-Putt Driving Range, $10 get you a small bucket of balls, use of the chain and putting greens, and Tom Tracer. There are even senior rates available. Putt-Putt Golf and Games Driving Range. 54 for summer every. Putt-Putt Driving Range, 901-386-2992. Putt-Putt Driving Range. It's putt-putt time. Protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive so you can stop worrying about them and invent new things to worry about, like snakes in your bedroom. Sure, that sounds incredibly irrational, but now that we've mentioned it, you are a little worried. The odds of one snake, let alone snakes plural, are so slim that you might want to check. Oh, you're not near your bedroom. You're so just going to sit there and worry about it. So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? so I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. 5 Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. 5 Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. The Hustle homestand continues Tuesday, March 11th at 7 p.m. against the Salt Lake City Stars. Watch Grizzlies two-way players Yuki Kawamura and Cam Spencer in G League action as the Hustle fight for a playoff spot. Get your tickets today at memphisHustle.com.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Red Star Sports Movie and Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We talk Tigers. Now we got to talk Grizzlies. And I think we can take a deep breath now. After the 4-game losing streak, you now win back-to-back games. Now, it was against the Mavericks, who, who's really out there playing for them, and the Pelicans. Two kind of scary games. I thought both of them at times looked like they could go the opposite direction, but wins are wins. And
changes the story.
Changes the story, certainly. And now you'll get the Suns tonight, but definitely feels a lot better coming in here talking about 2 wins rather than talking about more losses.
Fans were really freaked out. They didn't like the lineup against the Spurs. Then the loss to Atlanta, the loss to Oklahoma City, and Ja. Not us inferring Ja's comments. I shouldn't be in there, which we all were thinking, are they going to shut him down?
Yeah.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
And he hadn't been in an injury report since. I think a lot of that was heat of the moment, mad over the losses. Friday night had to get it, had to stop that streak, and then against the really, really poor Pelicans. And in the pregame, talking about them without Zion so much. Look, we've had our travails with Ja, but it hadn't been that.
No. I mean,
thank goodness.
Yeah, you
dodged that disaster.
I mean, just to think of where everybody was before.
It's frightening where it could have led to in this market.
Oh, man. I mean, and to go back to that draft lottery. And
you get him, and he have everything happen to him. It's happened.
Yep.
The damage that could have been done.
I mean, it would have been awful.
And it would be some conversations we wouldn't want to have.
No, and so I think you won that draft lottery by getting 2 instead of 1. Now, he's a fantastic player when he plays, but he just
he's not in there enough.
He can't stay out there, and so I mean, I'll tell you, Friday night, I mean, seeing 31 points from Brandon Williams in that game coming off the bench, and you give up 41 points in the third quarter. I was saying, okay. Here's loss number 5, 5 in a row. But then, Grizzlies come out, and I know we talk a lot about defense. Defense has kind of struggled. It was a great fourth quarter. You hold them to 17 points, and you get that win. You carry that into last night, another close game. But
Great fourth quarter.
Great fourth quarter, and what Ja and what Ja and Desmond Bane did last night. 32 points from Ja, 30 points from Desmond Bane. You're going to need those guys with Jaren out. You're going to need those guys to step up each and every game. And certainly tonight, we know you're 3-0 against the Suns, but the star power they have. You're going to need those 2 guys to have similar games like they've had the last 2 outings.
I'm looking forward to going tonight. I missed the all-timer 2 weeks ago tomorrow night.
Yeah, you did.
Maybe the best Grizzlies regular season win ever going tonight, but I don't know how tonight can be a replay of that, but I think it will be a game with 3.5 minutes to play.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. All 3 of the games you've played against the Suns have been really close, and so I think you definitely can't overlook this team. This is a Phoenix team that I do think they see an opportunity to get back into the play-in and are trying to stack some wins to get back there in that, and so they're gonna be out there ready to go tonight. The status report, we'll learn a little bit more. Later in the probably our third hour, we'll get some more clarity on the status report. But looking right now, Santi Aldama out again with that calf strain. Luke Kennard out again with back soreness, and then you've got Brandon Clark, Zach Edey, and Vince Williams Jr. all questionable tonight. You'd like to see all three of those guys go, but if you're missing any of those guys that are listed as questionable right now, I mean that just makes it a little more tough to beat the Suns team.
Who would you bet on making the playoffs, Dallas or Phoenix, the play-in?
Right now, I'd say Phoenix.
Me too.
I mean that Dallas team,
wobbly.
it's just, they can't catch a break. And, you lose one more guy. I mean, again, some of these guys that stepped up for them on Friday, you're going, okay, Najee Marshall, good player.
After those two, it's not anybody else in the West with Portland, no run.
No, it feels like that's kind of where it takes the fall off. But I think it's going to be competitive between those two teams. I think the Suns will get there, but especially now with all the injury. I think you asked me that a week or two ago before Kyrie goes down. I'd say Dallas, Suns don't care, but I think the Suns will jump in there and now for the Grizzlies, if they can start stacking some wins, you look in front of you, and now with this injury to LeBron,
the Lakers are going to fall. They're not staying at the 2.
No, what's going to happen?
I don't know they
there?
lose tonight in Brooklyn, but
no. But I certainly trust Denver a lot more than I trust the Lakers to get that 2 spot.
It hadn't Jokic, hadn't he kind of become like Lamar Jackson in the NFL? Mm-hmm. You could just vote him MVP every year, and you wouldn't be embarrassing yourself.
I think I'll go even further. I think you could not watch a single game and just write in Jokic and just hey, before the season starts, I'm just go ahead and fill this out. I'll have the email saved. I'm not going to watch a single game, and you'd still probably be right.
But the MVP should be SGA.
It's going to be SGA.
It's going to be SGA.
I do think if you voted Jokic, I can't blame you. The guy's incredible.
Who would you vote for?
SGA.
Me too.
SGA for sure. 100%. It kind of goes back to, a couple years ago when it was Joel Embiid and Jokic going back and forth. I don't think you picked the wrong side. It's just one guy got more votes. I think SGA gets more votes this year. I think he's been, a little better in what he's done as a leader. But, if Jokic goes out there and gets a bunch of votes, I would say I'm not surprised. He's incredible.
Kendrick Perkins over the weekend said it all goes through Boston still.
Yeah, I see that. Defending champs, now, they didn't really lose anything.
By the end of this week, he may say it all goes through somebody else.
Well, yeah, then that's Perkins.
He can be heat of the moment.
That's Kendrick Perkins for sure. But no, when you look at Boston, I know they're 8 games behind the Cavs.
Memphis
right now.
hadn't gotten his fascination all year this year. I used to love it.
I thought he was going to get back on that bus.
He's been hanging out with Joe Lunardi.
Well, both ESPN employees, they might
just turned on us.
Just
classic.
Go meet up at the bar.
What do the kids call it? Heel?
Yeah, he's a heel.
Yeah.
He's a heel, but I don't know.
We used to call them bad guys.
Yeah, now they're heels.
Well, they're both heels, bad
Same
guys.
thing, synonyms, I guess. Just tomato. But no, I'm kind of with them. Boston, I could see them making a push in the postseason. Let's go ahead and wrap up this hour. When we come back, we're talking a whole lot of college basketball. David Cobb from CBS Sports, he joins us next.
If I had a nickel for every time somebody has recognized me as the spokesperson for Central Barbecue,
one of the spokespeople, I wouldn't have a nickel because we do these for the radio. But I'm proud to be the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. You know what I mean? I'm proud because all of us who do this have had to do ads for things we didn't necessarily believe in.
Yeah, I know I have.
I know you have too.
Hey.
But we get to tell everyone about Central Barbecue, the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
The first ever preseason pool spa and patio event is going on now at Family Leisure. First time ever. With unbelievable savings. You want a pool? They're starting at just $19.99. How about a spa? They're starting at just $29.99. Patio furniture sets are starting at $7.99. Cold plunges and swim spas are just, I can't even say those prices. But I will say, they're priced to move. There are so many deals going on right now during the first ever preseason pool spa and patio event. You've got to come in and see the savings for yourself. But wait, there's more. You can register to win either a free pool, a spa, or a patio set. Yes, a free pool, spa, or patio set. Just stop by Family Leisure to sign up. This is the first time ever
glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Bentwinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Bentwinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BentwingerGlass.com. Bentwinger Glass. Listen each and every Sunday morning at 11 to join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is a PCUSA church in downtown Memphis.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's building on all the major outbound routes, slowly but surely picking up through the Midtown area on 240 southbound and South Parkway. As you head south of Memphis, that's been moving fairly decent so far on 55 down through South Haven into DeSoto County. If your yard needs a little bit of help this time of the year, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here to help with 30 years experience. Call Lawn Solutions right now, 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Wiloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins us now from CBS Sports, where he covers college basketball and college football. David, a lot to get to today, but let's start with the Memphis Tigers. They won the American Athletic Conference Friday night with a win over USF. When you look at Coach Penny Hardaway as a coach, what does this mean? Finally getting that regular season conference championship. What does that mean for him?
Yeah, I think it's just a great season, and you got to draw the line there because you never know what's going to happen in this month. It's the craziest month of the year in college basketball, and unfortunately, for better or for worse, it's where legacies are built and where legacies are broken. But if you're able to separate the insanity of March and take the 24-25 season on its surface for what they've accomplished since November, you got to give them an A-plus job.
Have to.
AAC regular season title, all the non-conference victories. It was a great job, especially when you consider the chaos, the uncertainty, the unrest around the program heading into the season. To get past all of that, shove it aside with your results, because that's what we said, right? It's like, well, the only way out of this for Penny Hardaway is to win, and he has done that. He has won.
He bowed up and he won. With that, David, I think I asked you this last week, but I'll go there again. I think at some point this week should be an announcement of at minimum tacked on years, don't you?
Absolutely. That's the norm for a coach who performs like this, would be to be rewarded with an extension, probably a raise, and the performance warrants that. You want your coach to feel like he's protected. You don't want him to be looking around. Of course, none of us ever think that Penny Hardaway would leave Memphis to go anywhere else, right? Like that's sort of something that we can't even fathom. But you can't take advantage of him just because he has loyalty to the university. He has to be fairly compensated for what he's accomplished, and I have little doubt that is to come, right? Like I think what he's done on the court has earned him that. And probably earned him AAC Coach of the Year, too. And the only reason I say probably instead of definitely is because, I mean, look, North Texas and Ross Hodge, he's put together a really good season there. When not a whole lot was expected from them, they got raided by the portal. They got a whole bunch of guys playing for other power conference schools who were part of that program last year. And he's put together a really good season. But if I were picking between the two, I'd pick Penny Hardaway.
David, don't you think for both parties, the university and for Penny Hardaway, the basketball coach, don't you think everybody's kind of given as good as they've gotten on the loyalty and being good to that? Nobody has advantage there. I know he sweat and bled as a player, but it also, through his hard work, it got him to the NBA and to money the rest of us can't imagine. But as the coach, I think plenty patient, been good enough. Now be fair with a raise, and we talked about tack on some years. I don't think somebody's got the advantage on the other one.
No, that's true, because I don't know that a lot of coaches would have made it through some of the things that Penny went through at the end of last season, with some of the academic allegations and just the disorganization and disarray. You know, that was part of the picture going into the season with a new athletic administration. He probably did get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. So the loyalty, I think that's a really good point, Brett. The loyalty it goes both ways, and you see the benefits of it now. You see the benefits of Memphis being patient with Penny Hardaway, and of course, and now you don't feel like you're not looking over your shoulder to see, oh man, is Penny Hardaway's name going to pop up on the hot board list for the Indiana job, right? Because a lot of times the mid-major coach has a phenomenal season and beats Michigan State and Connecticut and Missouri and Clemson, and you're going to see that coach's name tossed out for other openings. And, that the advantage of the loyalty is that you don't necessarily fear for that if you're Memphis. So
and the two wins against the SEC, not in any SEC year, in the year of years for the SEC.
Yeah, they age well for sure. I mean, Ole Miss and Missouri both locks to make the NCAA tournament. The loss to Mississippi State, I mean, in retrospect, they're not playing well right now, but again, that's another team that's going to be a lock to make the NCAA tournament. So you go 2-1 against that conference. I mean, come on. I mean, that's great. It's interesting, and like when you really look at it, Memphis is 2-1 against the SEC, 6-1 in Quad 1, and I know y'all have probably talked about it, and I think it's worth pointing out, that might be the best Quad 1 winning percentage of anyone in the country come Selection Sunday. I mean, there's a decent chance that nobody else out there on Selection Sunday is going to have a better winning percentage in Quad 1 than Memphis. And, Drake, absent some teams that didn't play a Quad 1 game or that are 1-0, or Drake is 2-0, for a team that played 5 or more Quad 1 games, for Memphis to be there, at the moment at 6-1, I don't know if that's going to be matched, and I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be reflected in where they're seated, because all the projections now, they got them in the 6 and 7 range from what I'm seeing, and it doesn't necessarily feel right given the type of year they had.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I want the David Cobb bracketology. So put on your bracketology hat, because your friend Jerry Palm has Memphis as a 6. Joe Lenardi over at ESPN has Memphis an 8. A lot of people upset about that. Where would David Cobb put the Memphis Tigers?
I mean, I'd have them at a 3 or a 4, but I think my criteria is a lot different than the selection committee's criteria.
I think like your criteria a lot better.
Hey, I got a master's in analytics, so I'm smart, right?
That's right.
We could do Cobb
from the University of Mississippi, no less.
I did. That's right. Shout out. So no, I mean, I would have resume be a much bigger part of the selection criteria and of the seeding criteria. I think it should be. Yeah. Well, who would beat? Because I think it's interesting, right? Because
you played ball. That's the sport. We played and beat you.
If you base the college football playoff rankings off of computers and metrics and SP Plus, Ole Miss would have been a lock for the playoffs. Why? Because they obliterated Middle Tennessee. They obliterated Furman. They beat the snot out of most of the bad teams on their schedule. But in college football, we have the common sense to say we're not going to reward you just because you put up a bunch of points against a bad team. Meanwhile,
you can't lose at home as a 16-point favorite to Kentucky.
Right. Meanwhile, it seems to be in college basketball that if you beat the basketball equivalent of Furman or the basketball equivalent of Middle Tennessee by 50 points, we heap praise on you and we call you a 2 seed. And, we say, wow, look what they've done with the advanced analytics. They must be really good. Okay, have you seen Gonzaga's resume? The net, Ken Palm think Gonzaga's a top 10 team.
I don't get it.
Show me anyone that's any good who they've beaten. And yet here they are almost neck and neck in some bracketologists in terms of the seeding with Memphis, which makes no sense when you actually go and look at who Memphis has defeated.
Yeah, no, you are you're right about that. I've seen one or two brackets out there that have Memphis and Gonzaga playing in the first
Who
round.
noticed the Gonzaga love early in the net?
You did.
I did.
You were calling it out very, very early. Auburn, speaking of teams that are way up there in the net, way up there in KenPom, Jerry Palm still has Auburn and said he would. He wrote it last week. He was still going to have Auburn the number 1 overall seed even if they lost to Alabama. Well, here we are. They lost to Alabama, still number 1 overall. Would you still have them as the number 1 overall seed?
Absolutely. And it wouldn't matter if they lost their first game in the SEC tournament. Regardless of who that opponent ends up being for Auburn, it wouldn't matter to me at all if they go 1 and out. Because it's about the resume. That's what it's about. I don't care what KenPom or what the Nets say about Auburn. The resume is unmatched, and there is no way for it to be matched over this next week. It doesn't matter what Duke does or what Houston does or what Florida does, Alabama, Tennessee, Michigan State, you name it. I mean, there's nothing in my mind looking at it that they could do to make their resume better than Auburn's, because Auburn's sitting there at 16-4 in Quad 1. I think that the next most Quad 1 victories of anyone in college basketball right now is Michigan State at 12. And they're only going to get 3 games most in the Big Ten tournament. And so they could get to 15 wins in Quad 1. Maybe there's a case to be had there, but I think it's Auburn. I mean, I really don't think it's that close.
Can Alabama win it all?
That's interesting. I go back and forth on them. I would have said no until they went on the road and beat Auburn on Auburn's senior day. And then it was like, okay, the light bulb clicked. Something clicked for Alabama in that game, because they had lost 4
It
out
did
of
this
6.
time last year, too.
Sure did.
Right, and they made the Final Four. My thing is, because I think there's such a difference that people don't always realize about who can make the Final Four versus who can win the national championship. Because you think, oh, well, you make the Final Four, of course you can win the national championship. It's only 2 more games. And I get that, but look, I mean, Loyola Chicago, VCU, Florida Atlantic, these teams can make the Final Four. It's incredible. It's one of the best things about the NCAA tournament. But have we seen VCU or FAU or a team of that ilk win the national
Marquette
title?
had Dwayne Wade. They weren't winning at all in New Orleans that year.
Right. And the closest you can find to that is UConn when they were a 7 seed. But still, I mean, it's UConn, right? So it's like it kind of comes with an asterisk. So, no, I mean, I think Alabama is absolutely good enough to make the Final Four. I hesitate to say that they can win it all. I don't think this Alabama team is better than last year's team necessarily. It's still really good, but it would have to be better than last year's team to win it all. And I don't think it is.
Mm-hmm. So it feels like right now Auburn and Duke are both locks for number 1 seed. Who would you have as the other 2 number 1 seeds?
Houston, to me, I've kind of had a love affair with them all year. They've been so dominant in the Big 12 to a degree that really doesn't even make sense. How do you go from the AAC to the Big 12 and not even skip a beat? I mean, as we know, the level of competition is so much greater. And they go 19-1 in the Big 12? It's absurd. So Houston, almost without exception for me, would be a number 1 seed. I guess there's a scenario where Alabama or Tennessee wins the SEC tournament, Michigan State wins the Big Ten tournament, Houston loses its first game, right? Like it could happen. But Houston to me feels really safe there. So I think Duke's pretty safe, Auburn's pretty safe, Houston feels pretty safe. The most interesting thing to me is the last number 1 seed, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. So the SEC tournament could be impactful in determining who gets that 4th number 1 seed, or I keep coming back to Michigan State, which has not been a part of the number 1 seed conversation all season long, but they are closing the season playing really good ball. They're going to have a tough path. They're going to pick up quality victories in the Big Ten tournament if they win that thing. So I want to put Michigan State in that conversation. So I think there's 4 teams that have a chance to get that last number 1 seed: Florida, Bama, Tennessee, Michigan State. So that's one of the most interesting things to me about this championship week is how that race unfolds.
David, you mentioned Houston and just not missing a single beat going into the Big 12, and it makes people think, what would Memphis do if they got that call to a better league? Look what SMU did in the ACC this year. I think if Memphis could ever get that domino to fall just right in conference realignment, they would be just fine wherever they landed.
Yeah, just fine, but doing what Houston's doing, don't let that trick you into thinking it'd be easy. I just think it's so incredible.
I agree, but Penny Hardaway never backed down from playing Kelvin Sampson teams. He
no,
stepped
not at
up.
all, not at all, not at all. Memphis would split the difference, and my guess would be if Memphis were in the Big 12, they would be a whole lot better than UCF has been. They'd be better than Cincinnati has been. They wouldn't be what Houston has been. There's no way. It's just insane that the way they play defense, how well-oiled of a system they are on the court, their culture, their continuity. That's probably the biggest thing when you look at Houston is the continuity. They get their players back. They retain their players. They develop players. Memphis, kind of by necessity, has had to go another direction, and it's more or less a new team every year. And Penny's done an amazing job with that recipe and that formula. But yeah, I think if you drop Memphis into this year's Big 12, it's still easily an NCAA tournament team, probably even a higher seed than what we're looking at right now out of the AAC. But they certainly would have taken more losses. I mean, they'd be 12-8, or something in that conference, which is still
drop it into
really
the
good.
ACC and tell me what comes out.
Yeah, put them in the ACC. I would shoot. They'd be 15-5, 16-4, 17-3. I mean, that league is no bueno.
North Carolina in or out of the tournament?
Got to be out.
Yeah.
No question. No question.
Yeah. You mentioned Michigan State in the conversation for the number 1 seed. Were you familiar with the tradition that they do where the seniors kiss the court after the game? First off, I was not familiar with the tradition. Disgusting. It's after the game? Why are we not doing this before the game, if anything? Were you familiar with this tradition, and what did you make of what transpired
Dusty May
yesterday?
wasn't.
No, Dusty May was just like me. He had no idea.
No, I was not familiar with it, but it seemed to create quite the moment of controversy there. Kind of reminiscent of the theatrics we saw at the end of the Ohio State-Michigan football game. Maybe not quite to that extent, but still, that was fascinating. I'd be mad too if I was Michigan if I got swept by Michigan State when I had
broke out the tear gas in football.
Yeah, no, that was interesting to see that play out on CBS, no less.
Yeah. Michigan always in the middle of it, aren't they?
They really are, even without Juwan Howard. That was bizarre.
This week, if you could go one place, be there for every minute of every game and the appropriate post-game, getting quotes and reporting, where would you like to be?
Well, I guess I'll go with where I will be, which is the SEC tournament.
Well, hey, David, no kidding, right there.
Yeah, I'll be at
Good
Bridgestone. It'll be.
That's a lot of games.
It is. It's going to be a slugfest. I'll admit, I'm actually a little disappointed that the bubble picture isn't a little bit more chaotic, but Georgia, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, all have been trending pretty much in the right direction to where I think they're in.
Yeah.
Then you got Texas and Oklahoma, where the picture is a bit murkier, especially for Texas. So, but I thought there might be 4 or 5 teams on the bubble during this tournament. Nonetheless, it's still going to be fascinating.
What's Texas need to do?
They have to win at least 2 games, right? I mean, so you beat Vandy. I mean, I think you would probably have to beat A&M to feel like you're safe. And make no mistake, they could do it. I mean, Trey Johnson is incredible, a freshman guard, probably almost certainly a top 10 pick. I mean, he is so good to watch. He would be a potential breakout star in the NCAA tournament if they can find their way in as an 11th seed. I mean, he's just so good, so talented. But they have work to do. There's no doubt. So I'd say Texas probably has got to win 2. And then Oklahoma, I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on where you look. I mean, some people seem to think that they're safe. I would not recommend losing in game 1. I'll say that. I would certainly recommend that Oklahoma at least beat Georgia before they leave Nashville.
Yeah. When you look at Texas and obviously the head coach Rodney Terry, what would he need to do to keep his job? And do you think
pull a Kevin Keats?
Yeah. Well, do you think if they miss the tournament, we'll have an opening at Texas?
Yeah, I do. It seems to be trending in that direction. And think about what they'd have to do. they'd have to get hot, and then I think they'd have to not just make the NCAA tournament, but probably make the second weekend. Because when you remember when Rodney Terry got hired, he had been the interim because Beard got canned real early in that season. Rodney Terry was essentially the head coach for almost that entire season and did a good job. Got that team to the second weekend. He hasn't done a bad job, but there just seems to be an appetite there to get basketball up and running and going in the right direction and really competing at the highest level in the SEC. And I don't think you can look at what Rodney Terry's done so far and say that they've done that. And the finish to this season has been particularly disappointing because you get a guy like, like I mentioned, Trey Johnson. Like, you get a guy like that, and you got to take advantage of it. And he hasn't done that. So, given the way that he got the job, translating the interim job into full-time job, his contract wasn't like bulletproof by any means. They'll be able to move off of him without a whole lot of trouble, and then it'll be one of the top 5 jobs without a doubt.
Who gets
open this cycle, and they'll be able to go out and hire a really good coach.
Who will that be?
Well, I mean, I'd keep an eye on Will Wade. He was a hot name this time last year. I think he kind of chose to stay put and see what this cycle might bring. And
don't you think NC State's in play for him?
Could be, but if I were Will Wade, and it were between NC State and Texas,
oh my gosh,
I'd go to Texas.
That's an easy
I don't know.
We all would, but look at the success of NC State historically, even the last few years compared to Texas.
Agree. There's more basketball tradition at NC State. The difference now is the conferences, and you can go. I mean, we're going to see it. We're going to see it, right? You can go 7-11, maybe even 6-12 in the SEC, and make the NCAA tournament. Whereas, at NC State, look at the condition of the ACC. You got to go 15-5 in that league to make it. So it's crazy how the shifts have passed in the night, and the SEC jobs have just become so much more attractive than the ACC jobs. But I'll say this: I mean, if Will Wade chose to go to NC State, he would get that program up and going. It would be great for the ACC.
Oh yeah,
that would be a huge win for the ACC if they could get Will Wade there. I mean, he would do a great job there. He would get them to the NCAA tournament. They'd be one of the best programs in the conference, and then you could have a nice little young coaching nucleus there with John Shire at Duke and Pat Kelsey at Louisville and Will Wade, who's still young, even though this would be his 6th Division I job if he leaves. He's still young. He could do a really good job there, I think. But I mean, if it were between the two and you had your pick, I think you'd pick Texas.
Isn't it odd that if you could wave a wand, everybody get collective amnesia, forgive and forget? LSU would love to have Will Wade back, and Texas would love to have Chris Beard back.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, I mean, and there's no doubt. And look at what's happened at LSU since then, and now Chris Beard is no longer untouchable. And so I'm sure there's a faction of that fan base that's like, well, if we had just ridden it out, right, the storm would have passed eventually. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe there's something to be said.
Everybody's making big A offers now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and look at Florida. They chose to ride it out with Todd Golden.
Sure did.
And there was a Title IX investigation there. I think some schools would have said, we're not even going to see this through. You're gone. You're done.
Yeah.
They did. They stood by their guy, and now they're potentially a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they must feel pretty confident that we've seen the last of that whole situation, right? Because if they thought there was something else that was going to come up, boy, it's hard to imagine they would have held on to the guy.
Yeah, because if it comes up now, it costs
with winning, that they're letting that blind their decision making. But I mean, I guess there is something to be said for sticking with your guy if you know he's a winner.
Yeah, Scott Strickland rode it out football and basketball and appears to be vindicated.
Yeah, and he needed some vindication. It's been a rough go over there in Gainesville. So the Florida basketball program, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, right? When the bright lights come on and you're under the spotlight and there's more intense media coverage, right? Like, what does that do? Do people suddenly want to talk that didn't want to talk before? Just throwing that out there. It's always interesting to see sort of how the bright lights of March, bring intense scrutiny. You think about a few years ago, the situation at Alabama where their star player, Brandon Miller, had been essentially allegedly a witness to a murder. right? And all of a sudden, Nate Oates gets into the postseason and he's asked about it at every practice, every press conference, after every game. That's an uncomfortable situation to be in. So you got to have a lot of faith in your coach and his ability to handle that scrutiny if you're going to stick with him through the fire. And, Texas chose to go the other direction. And you're right, they might regret that now.
David, I want to go back to Kevin Keats just for a quick second because look, I by no means am upset with NC State's decision. I understand it. I know he went on the Final Four run. You can make the argument. I can see both sides of it. You can make the argument. I mean, had zero NBA talent on that team last year and just got everyone to rally around and go on that run. But also they had lost 5 straight games going into the conference tournament last year and just went on that crazy run. But we've talked about it before. You're seeing this year a lot of programs, instead of making the decision to fire, coaching change, they go, we're going to stick with our guy and we're going to double down on NIL and we're going to give the best package to this guy. What does the NIL look like for NC State basketball? Was it already there and Kevin Keats just couldn't win with that type of budget? Or, is this something that if they go out and try to go get a guy like Will Wade, that's something they'll need to fix for him?
I think what it is they must feel pretty good about who they're going to hire and the type of talent that coach is going to be able to bring.
Yeah.
Because if you're just parting with Kevin Keats and going into a coaching search blind, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because I look at NC State's roster from this season and I don't see a program or a roster that I would classify as expensive. I see a budget roster. To be honest, I don't see any NBA draft picks, any all ACC type of players on this team. And you would think that after a Final Four run, especially one like that you'd be able to rally the boosters, rally the donors, get the collective in a good place, and go out there and land some high caliber transfers. They were not able to do that. That did not happen. And then the on-court product was even farther behind than the roster was. So I think if the reason you part with Keats is because you have a pretty good idea of who you can hire, you have a pretty good idea that firing the coach is going to mobilize, your portal possibilities and your financial capabilities. Because otherwise, I mean, you got to be realistic. You got to say, look, if we're giving our Final Four coach a poverty sort of situation to go out and build a roster with, I mean, that's just unfair, especially after his what he just accomplished. So. You got to think, if I'm giving NC State the benefit of the doubt here, that they have a pretty good idea of who they're going to get and the type of roster they'll be able to build moving forward. Otherwise, I mean, they just completely disrespected a coach who took them to the Final Four, and that would be, I mean, we'll see, right? Like we'll see kind of how this shakes out, but I got to think that they're in a bad situation in NIL, and the reason they're doing this is because they have a good idea of the coach they're going to hire and what he's going to bring in.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that. I do love Kevin Keats, his statement he put out, the final sentence, I'm officially entering the portal. That's pretty good from him. David, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the SEC tournament this week, and we'll talk to you a week from now. We'll have brackets in our hands.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yes, we will. I'm looking forward to it, guys.
Thanks, David.
Enjoy.
David Cobb joining us every week from CBS Sports, talk college basketball and college football. I think he's right, though. I think NC State, they feel pretty good about the type of coach they can go out and get. And we've talked about it before. You go out, you make that coaching change, you bring in somebody that the fan base can get excited about. NIL money comes along with that excitement, so it should. We'll see what NC State does in this coaching cycle. We need to get to another break. When we come back, we're talking a whole lot of bracketology with our bracketologist, Shelby Mast. He joins us next.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Briggs Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Briggs Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest bench ovens in the Mid-South, Briggs can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Briggs Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Briggs Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2700. worrying about them, and invent new things to worry about, like snakes in your bedroom. Sure, that sounds incredibly irrational, but now that we've mentioned it, you are a little worried. The odds of one snake, let alone snakes plural, are so slim that you might want to check. Though you're not near your bedroom, so just have to sit there and worry about it. So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Five-Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's building on all the major outbound routes. It's already gotten crowded. Certain sections of 240, especially eastbound, as we check it out live here in Mill Branch with that drive all the way out to 385. Picking up also this time of day, 40 east at Sycamore View Road, working your way all the way out past Germantown Parkway. Weimer's Jewelry has been around, 40 years, saving you money here locally. Go by and see them and shop local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Well, we talked a lot of college basketball today, but now we got to talk about the brackets. On Sunday, we'll have the official bracket in front of us, but Shelby Mast from BracketWag.com, he's our bracketologist. He joins us each and every week as we talk about what the bracket could look like. Shelby, thanks so much for joining us. It feels like ever since we started talking with you right after the Super Bowl, you've had the Memphis Tigers on the 8 line. Now you've moved them up to the 7 line. What has happened around that 7 and 8 lines that caused you to move Memphis up from 8 to 7?
Well, it was a mock committee I was on this weekend. We discussed Memphis ad nauseum. And what we think they're going to do, the committee, is they're going to look at their quad run record. They're going to be very impressed with that. They're going to kind of ding them a little bit for the Q4 losses, but what got me the most is in the NCAA's own metric, own base, net, Memphis is ranked 48th. It's awful hard for me to see them moving up too much, and because I'd be like the NCAA saying, well, our tool isn't that good, but here's where we think Memphis will be. So it kind of a whole bunch of stuff. I just settled on 7. I think the committee did too.
In that Memphis conversation that you described as talked about them ad nauseum a lot, what was the most flattering thing said about Memphis, and what kind of dig did Memphis take?
Well, it wasn't really a ding. It was just, they've got a few bad losses. It shouldn't have hurt them too bad, but how will the committee react? There's too much good in this team. Played a fantastic out of conference, but again, if you do the math and the net, they're coming out to about a 12 seed, and they're not that.
No, they're not going to be that.
No.
And Shelby, it's why every Monday around noon, with the release of the AP poll from the beginning of the year to now, so many people get so worked up over it around here, and I have tried my best to say, pay no attention to it. The NCAA, using your words, they have a tool. It's called their net. It's their toy. and we're going to see the test of it with Memphis. And I'm with you. I just don't think they're going to say, yeah, by our own toy, never mind, don't pay any attention to it.
Right. And I kind of think the same thing with Gonzaga. With Gonzaga being ranked so high,
the other way,
and everything else points lower, so they're probably not going to get a super high seed either.
Where do you have Gonzaga? You have Gonzaga as an 8.
Yeah.
Now, in your bracket, you have Memphis as a 7, and one spot in front of them, Mizzou with a 6, and Ole Miss with a 6. Mizzou in the same regional with the Memphis Tigers, and Ole Miss in another one. And I know you know this. Memphis beat both of them head-to-head. Head-to-head has to matter, doesn't it?
It only does if you've got two teams going for a single spot. Ole Miss and Missouri are high enough up on the 6th line, I think, where it didn't come into play. It was discussed, but we don't think that it's going to matter too terribly much.
That committee you work with this weekend, I mentioned some names earlier. I know it was Bracket Guy Dave. I know it was Rocco Miller. I know it was Rocco
Miller, yeah.
Rocco Miller. And I know it was Kerry Miller as well, right? That and he joins our great morning show. What did you learn from them? What did you hear from them that how you want to seed Memphis?
Well, it's just interesting to me. I've been doing this so long where I was by myself, and so I couldn't bounce ideas or get input from anybody else. And now that we've been doing this committee for 3 years now, it's nice to hear other people's perspective on what they look at, their strength of schedule, strength of record, on and on and on, and how much weight they put on it, and to let me know that I need to focus on other things.
And once again, I think this is a real testament to you, Shelby, to be in that room with those people, all highly regarded in this year-long dance we do called bracketology.
I agree. I'm very happy to be a part of it. So thankful they asked me to do it again this year.
Yeah. Looking at the top of your bracket at the true seed list, you have Florida as the 3rd number 1 seed, and then you have Alabama as the first 2 seed at number 5, Tennessee at number 6, which would make them the 2nd number 2 seed. It feels like this week in Nashville is going to mean an awful lot to those 3 teams as they try to fight to get one of those number 1 seeds. How much do you think this SEC tournament will determine who out of those 3 teams gets the number 1 seed?
Auburn and Duke are set. I don't think there's any way they're moving from either of the top 2 spots. Florida, Houston, Bama, Tennessee, maybe Michigan State will have something to say about the 3 and 4 seeds. I think that Bama has a good record, good metrics, all that, and they have that win over Houston. I think they're going to have to get to the finals and beat solid teams along the way. I think Tennessee would probably have to win it, the Southeast Conference, to move up. I don't see either team moving down. Maybe if Tennessee and Alabama both lose early and Houston loses early, that opens the door for Michigan State, but I can't see all that happening.
You have 13 from the SEC and 10 from the Big Ten. Of those 2 conferences, which one do you think will produce a winner?
I mean, smart money says go with the SEC, but they've been having such good games every night. Are they going to be healthy and ready and well rested enough, or are they going to be so beat up after this conference tournament that they just kind of fall to the side? I'm really interested to see that.
Mm-hmm. You look at some of the teams that are kind of further down on the bracket than we would think they would be. Look at the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, Gonzaga on the 8 line, UConn on the 8 line, Baylor in your last 4 in. Looking at Baylor, what do they need to do this week at the Big 12 tournament to feel comfortable going into Selection Sunday?
I think probably win 2. 1 might be enough. But I think for them to feel comfortable, you got to get 2. They're sitting at 18 wins, and since the net has been around, the lowest win total for an at-large team is 19.
Mississippi State you have on the 8 line as well, and you look at Mississippi State. We talk a lot about Memphis and kind of the where different people have them and kind of that range. It feels like Mississippi State kind of in that same category, but you look at the way they finished the regular season, really limping to the finish line. How do you view this Mississippi State team going into postseason play?
Yeah, they're a solid team that just kind of got worn out down the stretch. If they can get well rested enough, then I think they're a dangerous 8 seed. It's the same thing for all the SEC teams. They've just been beat up so much.
And their
What's
defense,
left in the tank?
I don't know what happened to Jans's defense this year, but I don't know really where they're going to get that rest. They play Wednesday against LSU. I'm assuming they win. If they win, they get Mizzou. That will be a battle. If they win that, they get Florida Friday night. I don't know where you get any rest in Nashville.
Yeah. Well, the best chance for them to get rest is to lose first round and go rest for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
because I don't know that seeding gets damaged much more.
No,
probably not. It may move to the 9th seed, which means they wear a different color jersey.
That's it.
Purdue this year, obviously, some changes. There's no Zach Edey. Obviously, he's now with the Grizzlies. But how do you view this Purdue team? You have them on the 4 line. What kind of run do you think they can go on?
I don't know. They've kind of fallen off since the bracket reveal in early February, but they still had a much better season than I expected. I didn't expect them to be anywhere near a protected seed, probably closer to 7 or 8. And so the fact that they're up there, they can pat themselves on the back. And how deep can they go? I think that all depends on who they get matched up with.
Shelby, on Sunday you'll have the final bracket, and then all the rankings will come out. Last year, refresh my memory again, where did you finish last year?
Last year I was tied for 6th best.
And that beat a whole lot of people. And at what time will it be, Sunday or into Monday, that we have the final results where you stand this year?
Hopefully Monday afternoon. It may not be till Tuesday because the guy that does this thing, he does it all on his own. And he's got to filter through all these brackets that come in, including ESPN, CBS, whether they like it or not. He's got to do it all by himself.
I love it. I love where you finished last year, and we expect the same this year.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Who is the mid-major team? Obviously, next Monday, Sunday night, Monday, everyone's going to be picking those mid-major darlings that could go on the Cinderella run. Who's a mid-major team that you've kind of been looking at this season that you like, that you think can make a run?
I like Liberty, and I like they're a mid-major, but everybody knows them now. Drake.
Yeah.
They're good.
30 wins.
UC San Diego, I'm watching them. I think they get a bid if they get to the finals of their conference tournament and don't win. I think they're still in.
Wow. Yeah, they're a fun team. I've caught them a couple times this year, and I've been really impressed with what I've seen from them. Michigan, they got beat over the weekend by Michigan State. Really fun game. What do you think Michigan can do this year? Obviously, new head coach this season in Dusty May. What do you think they can do in March?
I think they're going to be a 5 seed, which means they're in that ominous 5-12 game. If they can get past that, they got a chance to go to the Sweet 16. I don't see them going much further than that.
No. Brett mentioned it earlier. Ole Miss at a 6 right now. If they go on a run in the SEC tournament, could they get up to that 5 line, or is 6 kind of about where they're going to be?
I think they could get to the 5 line, but other stuff has to happen. Like St. Mary's lose in their conference tournament. Oregon and Michigan don't get far in the Big Ten. I think that opens the door for Ole Miss. But you got BYU, UCLA right behind you. If they have a good tournament, they can jump them.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch with all of these conference tournaments starting. We'll have a couple more teams punch their tickets tonight with some
Gonzaga
some
and St. Mary's tonight, don't we?
That's no.
They're in
they're in the semifinals
Okay.
today. So we have one more game until we get. And that will be a fun matchup. Right now you have St. Mary's on the 5 line. We already mentioned Gonzaga on the 8. So that could be a really fun WCC championship if we get it. Shelby, it's going to be a lot of fun as we watch all these conference tournaments play out.
Sleep
this
when
week.
you can.
Yes, get some rest.
I did today.
There you go. Well, I'm excited for next Monday when we'll get to talk to you
sir.
and we'll have the official bracket in our hands. Thanks, Shelby, as always.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, good friend. Thank you.
Shelby Mash joining us every single week to talk bracketology.
Let's say Shelby is right on the money, that everything he has today is how it plays out.
Okay.
So that would be Memphis against Drake.
Yeah.
The old Missouri Valley game from way back.
Yeah.
I think Drake had one of those goofy elevated floors back in the day.
Really?
Up there. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think so.
I love it.
It's a long time ago.
Well, yeah, that was a long time ago.
If you won that, then get bounced.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's really tough.
Yeah, don't love it.
Ole Miss as a 6 would get the 11, the winner of Baylor, Ohio State. Fine.
I think they can win.
Win that
either
would
of
get the
those
3
games.
Texas Tech.
That'd be
Run from it, but it'd be tough.
That'd be fun storylines there.
When that goes Sweet 16.
Oh man,
do handstands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, Beard against Texas Tech.
That's right.
Mark
That's
Adams
right.
on that bench against Texas
That's
Tech.
right.
That would be that'd be
Well,
a
there's
fun
a lot of storylines
matchup.
there, isn't it?
Ton of storylines there.
And then if it played out according to seed, and for a chance to go to the Elite 8 against St. John's, that's awfully aspirational.
Wow, even better. I mean,
Arkansas an 11, State a 8, Tennessee a 2.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I think
Best local
it's gonna be
tournament
so much
ever
fun.
for us around here.
It's gonna be so much fun.
With
I
all
think,
these teams in.
Yeah, I remember the conversations last year about, when we got to the SEC tournament, there were 3 or 4 teams where you were saying, do they even want to compete in this conference tournament, or do they just want to, hang them up and get ready for the NCAA tournament? But you see how this is playing out, and at least looking at Shelby's,
It's a seed line for Ole Miss.
Exactly, and then even at the top, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, those 3 teams are playing to try to get that number 1 seed. And so it's going to be a lot of teams this year, because every game, no matter who you play, obviously outside of South Carolina and LSU, who will likely be packing their bags after day 1, all of those games, no matter who you're playing, that's only going to help your resume.
Now, it went exactly according to, it was fair and square for the 3-team tie between Mizzou, Ole Miss, and Kentucky.
Oh.
But Ole Miss beats Kentucky, smokes Kentucky. So you think, well, if you end up tied with Kentucky, you got the tiebreaker.
Yep.
Well, it did at 10-8. 2 pegs behind them. Kentucky the 6th seed, Ole Miss the 8th.
Yeah, right. I made the decision Saturday morning. I was like, I'm going to see how all this lines up and see if, throughout the day I can follow along and see, what games really matter for. After the first game, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I did the same thing, was too stupid to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, our friend Brad Logan, he tweeted at Blake Lovell, sort this out for us. He did, and it played out just like he sorted it out.
When I think of people I can trust to figure things out for me,
right.
Brad Logan is certainly up there, and Blake. I mean, those two together.
And me too dumb to figure it out.
Well,
you could have counted that in too.
I was sitting there. I was like, I can do this. And then after those first games, I go, I can't do this
I kept
anymore.
dismissing. Well, there's no way Kentucky can be ahead because of head-to-head.
Sure.
But
here we are.
And it was, and it's there in the rule book. It was no chicanery.
Oh, yeah. So,
aggravating, but no chicanery.
So Wednesday is going to be a lot of fun. It'll start first game noon, South Carolina, Arkansas, Texas, Vanderbilt.
And Arkansas can't play worse.
Oh, no.
Against South Carolina. In their history, they did at Columbia.
Yeah, I don't think they'll ever have a worse game than they did a couple weeks ago. But then you have Texas, Vanderbilt, LSU, Mississippi State after that, Oklahoma, Georgia to end the day. Ole Miss, they will play at noon on Thursday in their first game. They'll start the day on Thursday. So a lot of fun for the SEC tournament later this week. Let's go ahead and get to another break. When we return, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director of Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
Get in the zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new rotors.
When you buy 2 Duralast rotors during our spring sale, you get Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
That's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply. Build your business with a partner you can trust. The Home Depot. When you join Pro Extra, you get lower than shelf pricing and dedicated support to help you streamline your business and stay on budget. Get dedicated pro support for supply sourcing, custom orders, large equipment rentals, and more. At the Home Depot, we supply the support your job needs, the level of service your business deserves. The Home Depot, how pros get more done.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Vargas. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet or steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family of families still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Top Gun is the largest indoor range in the Mid-South, but size isn't the only difference. Top Gun has the best instructors with over 300 years combined experience and classes all the way from first shot to master marksmanship. Plus, Top Gun is affordable. Gold membership is just $48 a month. That's just $1.60 a day for a limited range time. Free gun rentals with purchase of ammo and members lounge access. Top Gun 2770 Witten Road and TopGunMemphis.com. Always ship with the best. Top Gun Memphis.
Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. Once again, Brett Rosworthy and Ryan Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
All right, Brett, I really like my big number today. It is a college basketball big number.
Same.
And it is the number 36. 36 is my big number today. Yesterday, John Camden helped Delaware secure a spot in the CAA semifinal. Our John Camden. He recorded 36 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists.
Did he score 36 points here?
I don't know if he scored a point here, but 36 yesterday for the Hens of Delaware. 36.7 rebounds, 5 assists, a 100-78-point win over William and Mary. He went 8 for 10 from 3. I mean, just knocking them down yesterday for Delaware. So this got me thinking. With all the players that have come to Memphis and then transferred away, where does 36 points rank in points from Tigers after they transferred from Memphis? So I went and did some digging. 36 points is tied for the second most points scored by a former Tiger after he transferred out of Memphis under Penny Hardaway. Very wordy there.
The other one?
You want to take a stab?
I'm guessing. Karan Iverson.
I did not factor in Karan Iverson because that was before Penny Hardaway. So this is just Penny Hardaway's tenure. Number 1, any more guesses? Amani Bates did it at Eastern Michigan. He had 43 points against Toledo when he was at Eastern Michigan. But Amani also had 36 points for Eastern Michigan against South Carolina, so that ties with John Camden's 36. This is the fourth time, I did not realize this, this is the fourth time this year that John Camden has had 30 or more points in a game. He had 35 against St. John's back in December, so John Camden having a heck of a season for Delaware this year. And but man, looking through some of those numbers of Tigers that transferred away from Memphis, some of them really good, some of them not so good.
My big number, I want to give credit to Matt Norlander at CBS. Yeah. I got this from a tweet of his and sure want to give credit. And my number is 335 with SIUE, High Point, and Omaha in the NCAA tournament. All for the first time. That takes the number all time to 335 schools to play in an NCAA tournament.
Wow.
Now,
that's a really good
number.
You
immediately think, well, this year, there's 365 in D1. But teams like, even a former champion like CCNY no longer plays. Sure. And a former Final Four team like NYU no longer plays in D1. But that's a lot of people getting that March Madness experience.
Brett, NYU punched their ticket to the D3 Sweet 16 over the weekend. I mean, number one seed.
They did.
Yeah, sure did. Playing some good basketball over there in the D3 ranks. Did not watch the game, but that's all.
NYU went to the Final Four way back. Way back.
Gotta be way back. That is incredible. No, that's a really good big number. I watched a lot of those games over the weekend. And
did you watch any of NYU?
Not the second round. I watched the first round game a little bit, just a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. But the Omaha game, they weren't even playing for anything. They were playing against St. Thomas. St. Thomas can't even make the tournament because they're in transition. Dumb rule, but they're in transition. So Omaha, before they even took the court, they knew they were going to the tournament, but they still went out there and won. And then you mentioned SIUE, the interview with their head coach after the game where he had a player bring over framed scissors that he said had been sitting in the locker room for 6 years, and he would always point over that and said, one of these days, we're going to break those scissors out and cut down the nets and go to the NCAA tournament. I mean, just incredible stuff. It's really fun. I mean, seeing these mid-major teams that go out there and win their tournament to go to the NCAA tournament, it's a lot of fun.
Somehow, some way, we got to get an SIUE game against Maryland for Greg and Eli's alma mater.
Oh, man.
Both going against
man. That would be electric. I don't know if it's possible, but that would be a lot of fun. I mean, imagine the week of build-up between those two.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be so much fun. But no, it's almost here. A lot of tickets being punched, a couple being punched tonight that we'll definitely keep an eye out for. But let's go ahead and wrap up this second hour, get to another break, and when we return, we're talking everything Grizzlies. DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, he joins us next.
Football fans, the Memphis Showboats are back in action with more of the football you love. Join the Showboats at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium March 30th for the opening weekend of the 2025 UFL season as the Boats take on the Michigan Panthers. Kickoff is 11 a.m. Head to UFLShowboats.com now to get your tickets and get more of the touchdown celebrating, high-fiving, bell-ringing action you love. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats!
Elwood Shack in the Lowe's parking lot on Summer just keeps getting bigger and better. Bigger because now there's a second Elwood Shack at 4040 Park across from the University of Memphis. And better because you can get breakfast every day at both Elwood. There's the barbecue breakfast burrito, even beef brisket or pork shoulder, and pancake biscuits made fresh daily. Real house-made pancakes, apple and bacon, French toast, and more. And the new Elwood's even has a real coffee bar serving fresh roasted J. Brooks coffee. Elwood Shack, now in 2 locations and open every day for you.
Corky's Barbecue. Cooking it up. Down home way. Hickory smoke flavor like a good old day. Sparky's Barbecue.
Attention homeowners, it's time to score big with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Generators. For the first 50 callers who purchase a new carrier system, generator, or tankless water heater, choose between 60 months of no-interest financing or free air duct cleaning, a $500 value. Plus, don't miss our $39 February deals. Choose from a furnace tune-up, a sewer inspection, or an electrical panel inspection. It's the perfect way to prepare your home for the season. But hurry, this winning deal ends February 28th. Don't fumble this opportunity to claim these amazing offers. Call Choates today at 347-8086. And remember, Choates, let our family serve your family.
This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family. Brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon, MPD on the scene of a couple of accidents out here now. It's busy, but it's moving over here on this side of town on 240 at Lamar as traffic increases even more on 40 eastbound at Sycamore View Road all the way out into Fayette County. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jack Wiley, once again,
You say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand. You said you love me.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. And joining us now to talk Grizzlies, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. He joins us now. DeMichael, thanks so much for joining us. Last week, it felt like Grizaster had struck Memphis with that 4-game losing streak. But over this past weekend, 2 wins. You're able to stack some wins together. Ja Morant back-to-back 30-point games over the weekend. What have you seen from last week in that 4-game losing streak and then over the last 2 games in the 2 wins?
Yeah, the defense was a huge problem. And if you go back and look at all 4 of those losses, there were large stretches where the Grizzlies just couldn't get stopped. And in those games, you take the OKC one out, because I thought they competed a little bit better in that one. They just were out-talented in a way. But in the first 3 games during that losing streak, you're talking about games that went down to the wire. And you're like, man, if we played better defense in this quarter, if we played with a little bit more energy and effort in this quarter, shifts the game. You know, you lose by 1 possession. You really, it forces you to really think back to, man, if we, the little plays where the energy wasn't there, the effort wasn't there, were really the difference. So after that, especially those first 3 games, you had a team that really wanted to emphasize, we got to play with more effort, we got to play with more energy, we got to play with more urgency is the word that Taylor Jenkins was using. And against OKC, I think they started to show some of that. OKC is the number 1 seed, and they have a 12-game lead over everybody in the Western Conference for a reason. So, you know, they were just outclassed in that game, I think, especially without Jaren Jackson Jr. Being on the floor. So when you factor all those things in, they showed signs competing in that game, and then it carried over into the last 2 games. And there were stretches still, like this Pelican game, you gave up 37 points in the second quarter against the Pelicans. Like, you can't have that, especially with all the guys they were missing. So there's still signs of that slippage that this team is really trying to, like, get over. Like, they want to be a consistent defense that's bringing the effort. And that's what we're used to seeing, you know, the Taylor Jenkins defense. Is like, we've always had all the questions about what they can be on the offensive end. But defensively, they've been stout for the most part for the past 6 years. But this stretch since the All-Star break, I mean, I think after the 4-game losing streak, they were 28th in defensive rating coming out of the All-Star break. Since the All-Star break, I haven't checked over the last 2 games that they've won, but getting back to your point of the last 2 games, they played a little bit better defensively, and I think the number one thing that stood out to me is the fact that, the Ja Morant and Desmond Bane combination, the way that they've elevated their game has been remarkable. This is exactly what you needed from them with Jaren Jackson Jr. out, and those two, whether it's scoring, rebounding, assisting, they've done just that.
DeMichael, after 64 games, what can be done for this defense? Because we know at playoff time, especially after that first series, when it gets down to 8, it gets a lot more bumpy and a lot more grindy. What can be done for this defense the rest of the way, or it is what it is?
Brad, I think that's pretty much what it is. It is what it is. Like, okay, here's how I look at it. Like, a big part of the defensive problem has been simply guys getting beat off the dribble, and that's where, you see the overhelping kind of come into play, and people say, oh, we're giving up all these wide-open three-point shots. And if you look at a lot of those wide-open three-point shots, now some of it is breakdowns for sure, but a lot of it is guys aren't staying in front of their man, and you're forcing guys to come over and help, and it's either, hey, do you want to let them get unresistant layup at the basket, or do you want to risk giving up the 3? And in today's NBA, somebody probably would say, "Yo, just give up the layup." Mm-hmm. But at the same time,
one less point.
The 3-point shot is a lower percentage shot, and I'm sure that's how the Grizzlies are viewing it. So it comes down to kind of stopping the ball. That's the number one thing for you in order for the Grizzlies to improve their defense. Now, when you look at the personnel, because this kind of goes into your question, can anything be done? I'm looking at the personnel, and I'm saying, okay, Jalen Wells is very solid on-ball defender at this point. Scottie Pippen Jr., when he plays, he's solid on the ball. Vince Williams, the bigger profile, says that he is a very good on-ball defender. But if you've watched Vince Williams since he's gotten back, it has not been the same Vince Williams just yet. And I think that's fair because he'll tell you that. I mean, we were talking to him. I asked him last week. I said, okay, how close are you to being the Vince Williams that we're used to seeing? Because if you look at his lateral agility, which is a huge part of defense when you're guarding perimeter guys, when you look at his lateral agility, it's not there right now. It's not to the same level of last season when he was hounding Luka and Kevin Durant and those guys. And he told me, he said about 80%, which wasn't surprising to me, which probably would be surprising to some people considering how much he's played. But he said he's about 80%, and he's in his mind, he wants to be at his best when the playoffs roll around and things like that. So, that's why he's on the injury report again, today, because it's a back-to-back. Now he's on the injury report, second leg of the back-to-back. Like, he's still working his way back. He's a big part of that puzzle because if you say, okay, you got an 80% Vince Williams right now, I'm looking at it like, hey, you got one guy in Jalen Wells who you wholeheartedly trust against perimeter options right now. That ain't going to work. Not in the Western Conference. Especially, you talk about tonight, you got to guard Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. You got one Jalen Wells. So, the math is the math there. Like, guys are going to have to step up, the Desmond Banes of the world. Josh competed very well, with his defensive intensity this year. But those guys are going to have to really bring it, and they're going to have to really become enforcers, in a way on the perimeter, because you need that now. You traded away Marcus Smart. So you have one less guy who can kind of bring that type of pressure for you. And I think to answer your question simply, the X factor is Vince Williams' health. If he gets back to where he was from a movement perspective, they'll be fine. You'll have two guys you can throw on whoever and say, hey, we'll live with the results. Whereas right now, you don't have a lot of resistance. You have a lot of, hey, look, I put my hand up. I did the best I could. But that might not be enough.
Yeah. DeMichael, a two-part question here for you about Ja Morant. In that game against the Oklahoma City Thunder, he returns, and then after the game, speaking to you and other members of the media, said that he probably came back a little too early, that he probably shouldn't have been out there against OKC. A lot of people talking about that quote after that game. What did you make of that quote from Ja Morant? And then the other thing a lot of people have been talking about, the three-point shooting, 18% from three for Ja Morant since the All-Star break. How much of that is the shoulder? How much of that is confidence? What are you seeing in his three-point shot?
Oh, man. It's a struggle for sure, and it's going to have to be better. Like,
he's not close on a lot of them.
Not close. And I wonder how long until teams. I mean, you're seeing teams do like slow closeouts on Ja.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wonder until they just blatantly say, "Look, we're going to make him shoot, and if he makes, he makes. He doesn't, he doesn't." You've seen some teams kind of slowly pivot towards that way because he's so good at getting to the basket, right? So the thing is, if you look at that Pelicans game, you go back and watch the film. Throw the stats out the window, overall numbers. The way he played in that game, that's the job you're going to need if you want to push for a championship. If you want to make the Western Conference Finals, if you want to beat the Nuggets or the Lakers in the second round, that's the version of Ja Morant that you need. I'm not even just simply talking about the makes, because the make or miss league, but the intentionality that Ja had when he was getting to the mid-range and he took the fadeaways with guys around him. He got to the mid-range. He took the face-up jumpers. You're going to need that because teams are going to have to consider that as an option. They're going to have to say, oh, okay, Ja may pull up and shoot this mid-range jumper. And in that game against the Pelicans, he wasn't bashful from three. I mean, he had that one possession where he took back-to-back three-pointers and he missed both. And then he finally just said, I'm going to go to the rim, and he got the layup, got the N1. But I think overall, the three-point shooting is a struggle. It's got to be better. There's no way around it. I mean, your point guard, your star point guard, can't be shooting 18% from three-point range. Like that, it's not a winning formula for a guy who attempts them, at the rate that he does. We're not talking about a guy who takes one three-pointer a game here.
Right.
So if he's going to attempt that many, they're going to need a higher success margin. I know Taylor Jenkins wants him to keep shooting them and things like that. So if that's the case, you just got to make more of them. Like if your coach saying he wants you to keep shooting them, got to make more because it's going to be a big part of his game. We talk about it a lot when you look at the top defenses. Again, the shoulder thing was a problem, but I don't think the shoulder, and I mean I'm not in his body, it's just my opinion, but I don't think the shoulder was the biggest reason for his struggles against OKC. I think that was just a really good defense that wasn't going to let Ja Morant do what he wanted to do at the rim. And maybe get back to, your question, Brian, maybe it did affect him, from the jump shooting perspective, if you got a short right shoulder and, you're right-handed. There is that possibility. But, I mean, you guys know Ja. He's not going to talk about, he's not going to make that excuse too fast about, the shoulder and whatnot. But
it was a lot of frustration.
It is something. Yeah. It's frustrating. It's something to monitor going forward for sure.
DeMichael Kohler, our guest from the Commercial Appeal. He's on the beat for the Commercial Appeal, covering all things Grizzlies, and he's on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. For as bad as it was last Wednesday night, the kind of the culmination of losing to Oklahoma City, having lost to Atlanta, lost to San Antonio, the heartbreaker to the Knicks. Boy, didn't Dallas and New Orleans pop up on the road at the right time?
I mean, it couldn't have been better, right? Like you needed wins.
Had to happen.
And they were able to get away from Memphis, get away from all the distractions, get away from the crib, go away, focus on basketball, nothing but basketball. Went into Dallas, went into New Orleans, picked up two gutsy wins. Like both of those teams really tested the Grizzlies in those games. Undermanned teams too. Dallas, there's no Luka there anymore, no Kyrie, no Anthony Davis,
no nothing.
And then, New Orleans, I mean, no Herb Jones, no Zion, no C.J. McCollum, no DeJounte Murray. Like, you're talking about teams that missed multiple All-Stars, both teams. And the Grizzlies, look, they were challenged, but they took care of business. And, look, you'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day of the week.
Any day of the week. And for as aggravated as we can get, as I can get, at sometimes at Ja, sometimes of the judgment on and off the court. Thank goodness we didn't sign up for that Zion mess. Rob Fisher said last night pregame on the pregame show he has only appeared against the Grizzlies 10 times, 10 games.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see him a lot. We were talking about that last year. There was a stretch where, like, when he played, Ja didn't play, but it was more of Zion missing games. Like, Zion would miss a lot of them. It's like, man, we hardly get to see the top 2 picks from that 2019 class against each other. But, yeah, that is not the prettiest situation in the world.
No, not at all. Jaren Jackson Jr., we know he's out. Brett and I have kind of talked about it. Jeff Stotts on Twitter, who does a good job with injuries, he says that type of injury, about 3 weeks is usually how long a guy's out. But you've seen him. He's on the bench. He's very engaged. He's up and moving around. Looks like he's moving well. How long, what do you think the timeline is for Jaren?
Yeah, the main thing I saw is when we saw him like the day after. He was walking around. He was in good spirits, cracking jokes. And I thought then, I'm like, I mean, you guys know how tough he is. Like, we see him fall down so much. Even when he fell after the ankle, I'm like, this is Jaren. He'll get back up and basketball will go on. But then when you saw him, really limping noticeably, you're like, that's not what we usually see from Jaren. He usually gets back, runs it off, play goes on. So he's a tough dude, man. I mean, I think the big thing for him will be those movement things. Like we talk about, with Vince Williams, Desmond Bain, all these guys who job at these ankle injuries, before they get back, the lateral movement is always kind of like a big thing for them. And in the case of Jaren, that's a big part of his game, just being such a fluid big for his size. So it looks like he's already starting to work his way back. I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard 3 weeks. I mean, the grade 2 ankle sprain does signal that. So we'll see. I'm definitely gonna try to find out more, especially now that the team's back home. But I think it's a situation where, look, I'll say this: that I don't think the Grizzlies or Jaren feel that the 65-game thing for him is in any doubt in any way. And for that to be in doubt, it would have to be a 4-week timeline. So all the things considered, I think they'll expect him to be back well before that.
All right, DeMichael, what's the lofty seed number? What's the realistic seed number? And what's the doomsday seed number?
You want 2. 2 is the number. 2 is the magic number. That's the lofty one, right?
And only 2 out in the loss column of it today, even with all this.
You're only 2 out. Yeah. It's a very doable situation for them because you're 2 out of the loss column with the Lakers. Now, the thing is, you're basically 3 games behind the Lakers because I wrote about this a little bit yesterday too. Like, it's easier for them to catch the Nuggets. Because the Nuggets right now are 1 game in front of the Grizzlies, but they play one more time, and they only play 3 times this season. They're 1-1 in the first 2 meetings. So if the Grizzlies win that next game against the Nuggets, you automatically have the tiebreaker. Whereas with the Lakers, it's a little bit tougher because the Lakers are already 2-1 against you. So if the Grizzlies win that final meeting, or when those teams meet in late March, if the Grizzlies win that game, you're 2-2 this season against the Lakers. But when you go to the next level of tiebreakers, because clearly head-to-head won't decide it, the next tiebreaker will be records against Western Conference teams, and the Lakers have a sizable gap. Right now, I think it's 4 games, in front of the Grizzlies, in terms of record against the West. So, when we talked about, how the Grizzlies are playing against the Western Conference and things like that, the Lakers have been solid against the West. So it's possible for them to catch them in that regard, but I think the more likely route for the Grizzlies is just to win more games than the Lakers. So the 2 seed is doable, and those are some of the things you need to get in front of the Nuggets. You need to get in front of the Lakers. I think 4th seed feels the most realistic because of that. I mean, the Nuggets are playing really well. Like, they finally found their groove. And they both, it's funny because both teams have tougher schedules than the Grizzlies going forward. I think the Lakers have the 5th toughest schedule remaining. The Nuggets are 6th, and the Grizzlies are there at 12th. So all those teams have some tough stretches here going forward, but I think the Nuggets are the healthier team, whereas the Lakers are going to be without LeBron here for a week or 2, and that's probably the same with the Grizzlies without Jaren. So I think 4 is the most realistic scenario. You don't want to get to 5, though. I mean, 6 with the way that Golden State has been playing lately, but you don't want to get to 5. I think anything below 4 is as good as this team has been this season. They shouldn't be starting a first-round series on the road. And if you're at 5, you put yourself in position to where you got to win road games to escape that first-round series. And then it's only to play OKC. Like, hey, congratulations, you escaped the Rockets. Now you got the number 1 seed, and you got to show up in that series. So, that's a big part of the equation. I think that's the doomsday scenario for them.
Absolutely. Going back to injuries for a second, you mentioned the status report for tonight. Santi Aldama, who has missed a couple games now, and Luke Kennard, who missed last night's game. Both those guys listed as out tonight. I know you'll learn more now that they're back at home, but what's kind of the update? What do you know about both Santi Aldama, Luke Kennard, and those injuries?
I don't know too much yet because I didn't go on a road trip, so I haven't really talked too much with those guys yet. But Santi is the one that I'm really watching, monitoring closely because, one, it's calf, and two, this is a big opportunity for him. You look at these last couple games where we've seen, Ja Morant and Desmond Bain have just taken on a heavy load, and because of the quality of opponent, the Grizzlies have gotten away with it. But as the opponents get better, the Suns, I think, are a tick up from those two teams. Then you get the Jazz Wednesday, but after that, you got the Cavs. Like, as you get towards those tougher teams, you're going to want to have that consistent guy who can be that third option for you. And Santi, has proven over the course of this season, that he can really be an explosive scoring option, for the Grizzlies. So you're going to need that, from him, and you're going to need him back. So I'm monitoring that one a little bit closer. Luke Kennard, we'll see. We'll learn more today on what the status is there. But I think the Santi one, he is the guy who, when you say, okay, with Jaren out, right, who's going to be that guy that's going to step up and kind of alleviate some of the pressure off of Ja, off of Dez. He's that guy. Santi is the guy who is capable of doing that. And now you're saying, now this is, 2 consecutive games that he was listed as out, because we saw it on the first leg of the back-to-back. It's like, okay, maybe they're fitting him on the first leg. It's a calf injury. You don't play around with calf injuries. We know the history of basketball tells you that. But, yeah, it's a calf strain. So, I mean, you're hopeful that it isn't something, long-term.
Right. Last thing for you, DeMichael, tonight against the Suns. This will be the 4th time you've played the Suns team. We know what happened last time.
Guarantee us $2.99 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, all the points you could ever want. What do you expect? I mean, it's been 3 close games against Phoenix. What do you expect tonight?
I mean, I really don't know what to expect, guys, only because now this game's going to be different, because we talked about it every time the Grizzlies played the Suns. Jaren Jackson Jr. is the difference maker. The Suns have no answer for Jaren. In 2 of the 3 games against the Suns, he's been pretty much unguardable. The one game was the one in between, before the last one. They pretty much doubled him the entire game, and that allowed other players to have better games. But the other 2, I mean, he was 11 of 13 from the field in the last game. He fouled out. That was like LeBron. And then Ja took over late in the 4th quarter and overtime when Jaren was out. But no Jaren this game kind of changes the way that it looked like. The Suns really have kind of wrap their defensive plan around trying to slow down Jaren. And he's not on the floor. There's no Santi today, so it's going to be a lot of Ja and Dez again. And Ja's rim pressure is going to be big in this. The Suns are a poor team when it comes to protecting the rim, protecting the paint. Ja, in that last game, did a really good job, even when he wasn't making shots. He shot 7 of 25 from the field. Even when he just did a good job being aggressive, and he got to the foul line, I think it was 14 of 14 from the line. Like, he's going to have to maintain that same type of aggressiveness because the Grizzlies are going to need it. And, they were able to win that shootout because you had Santi playing so well in that last game. You had Jaren playing so well in that last game. So the Grizzlies' defense is really going to have to step it up, because if this game becomes a shootout, I mean, do you really like the Grizzlies' chances going against KD, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, with Ja and Dez? I mean, it's second leg of back-to-back for both teams, so it's kind of up in the air. But I think this game looks differently, but you need those 2 guys particularly. Ja and Dez are going to have to, I mean, they've done it the last 2 games. They're going to have to continue to play this ball where they're pretty much averaging 30 points a night.
Yeah, hopefully you can get another one like that from them. They were fantastic last night. DeMichael, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, DeMichael.
Thank you.
DeMichael Cole joining us from the Commercial Appeal to talk Grizzlies. He mentioned it back-to-back for both of these teams from last night. I saw Devin Booker last night wearing a pair of pennies, so he's about to come to Memphis supporting the hometown coach.
Very good, very good. That's a lot of firepower to get in another wild one with them.
Yeah.
You can't expect 151 to 148 in overtime every time.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, going into the last match, I mean, we know how close that last matchup was. You needed the heroics from Ja at the end to even put that game into overtime. But even those first two games, I think, it'd been, a little bit of time since the second time you played them. And so you kind of forgot, and you go, oh, well, they made it look easy. But both those games, either 7 points or less, the Grizzlies won by. And so all three of these games have been super close. Now without Jaren, I think DeMichael's right. I think you're going to need another big game from Ja and from Dez, and especially like he mentioned with this status report, some of those guys that could be out tonight. I mean, you could be out again if you haven't seen the status report for tonight. Brandon Clark, questionable. Zach Edey, questionable. Vince Williams Jr., questionable. Santi out. Luke Kennard out. So if you're missing a couple of those guys, that can make it a lot tougher for this Grizzlies team.
And league-wide, can it flip in a hurry? Now you got the Thompson ankle with Houston. You got LeBron's issues. I don't want it to happen to anybody, but it happens. We don't know where it's going to happen next. As gloomy as it felt last week, it can flip in a hurry.
Oh, man. I mean, it just like that. I mean, it can go from really good to really bad. And I mean, now you just mentioned it. The Lakers going to be without LeBron, and who knows what that does for them going forward. Well, again, thanks to DeMichael Cole, who joins us every Monday to talk Grizzlies. We'll get to a break here in a second, but before we do that, let me remind you about Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984, and their talented team's ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Go online to JaguarBluffCity.com, but go out there and test drive these vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove, just off of Quince for Bluff City Jaguar. Let's get to another break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's trending.
Sometimes you just want to make it fast, like the fun that comes from a quick and nimble 2024 Honda CB500F. This amazing style streetlights with a narrow 471cc twin, along with sleek GT display, dual disc front brakes, and standard ABS, all make it feel good price. Find fun in all your complexes in the 2024 Honda CB500F, available at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Wheeler Road in Olive Branch.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I pluck Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. 5-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's already building out of the Midtown area on 240 southbound as you come past Lamar. Still looking pretty good at the moment. On 240 as you get on to 385 Billmores Parkway, that traffic this time of day headed back out towards Collierville. Hey, if your lawn needs a little bit of help, don't worry. Lawn Solutions, they're here to save you a lot of money. They have over 30 years experience. Lawn Solutions, call them at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. A couple things I wanted to get to during What's Trending. We just got done talking with Michael Cole, and we knew that any minute after he got done with us that we would likely get a status report update. And we got that just a couple minutes ago during that break. Vince Williams Jr., he is out. But Zach Edey and Brandon Clark are both game-time decisions. So no word on if they're going to play or not, but game-time decisions. They'll get out there. They'll see how it feels, and we'll see what happens.
And we were just talking Vince Williams and his defense and how the lateral movement that helps, and I think that impacts Edey.
Definitely.
You've had your questions about Edey and his defense this year. I think it would be bolstered by a little better perimeter getting in front of somebody.
Sure. I mean, definitely. I mean, if you can't keep your guy on the perimeter, if he's getting to the lane, it obviously makes it a lot tougher for the big man down there. And so, yeah, I mean, I think especially when you look at this Suns team, they are guard dependent. It is Devin Booker, it's Bradley Beal, it's a Kevin Durant that plays on the perimeter and gets to the basket. You'd love to have a guy like Vince Williams out there that you could use. You know, the way they've been using that is, hey, Jalen Wells, who is their best perimeter defender in the starting lineup, you got whoever. You know, let's say you got Devin Booker. Okay, cool. You need a break? Hey, come on, Vince. Now you got Devin Booker. And so it's, the entire time you're making it tough for that player because you're putting that best perimeter defender on him. So certainly with Vince Williams out, that's definitely going to hurt the Grizzlies defensively.
The money is flowing in the NFL.
Sure
also,
is.
A lot of deals. Laramie Tunsil traded from the Texans to the Commanders.
Yeah.
Why would the Texans give up a piece to help Stroud only to help Jaden Daniels? I know it's in the other league, but
yeah, it's a good question.
The conference.
We were kind of talking about it during a break earlier, and you kind of go, oh, well, I mean, if you're Washington, of course you love going and getting Tunsil. I mean, anything to protect Jaden Daniels. But you're right. So I don't know if someone else has emerged that's maybe a little cheaper that can get the job done, or if they feel like they see somebody out there on the draft or free agency, that could be a better fit.
Laramie's
for them.
got to cut the penalties down.
He absolutely does. But if you can get something that is maybe not as good, but something comparable that is cheaper, I think that's where Houston wants to go, on the offensive line.
Geno Smith or Sam Darnold? Did Seattle win there?
I don't know. It's a question.
I'd rather have Sam Darnold.
Well, and it's a question that I think we'll see play out in the regular season because I know, Landon's brought this up. I know some other people have brought this up about how Sam Darnold feels like he might have just worked out in that system in Minnesota. It's the right system for him, and he flourished there. We have not seen since until he got with Minnesota. He was nothing. He was forgotten about. He could not stick anywhere. He could not get playing time anywhere. But whatever happened in Minnesota worked out. And so I know, talking to Landon about, hey man, that could be your next quarterback in Nashville with the Titans, and he would say, no. I think he only worked in Minnesota, and so I guess we'll see. Can he work in Seattle? I think the potential is better than what you had with Geno Smith, but certainly Geno now going to Vegas and reunite with his old head coach that certainly had a ton of confidence in what he could do.
I like the Devontae Adams to the Rams because I think they're close.
I think they're close, and you have Puka Nacua out there, and you wanted with the Cooper Kupp situation, and it sounds like he wasn't happy there. You wanted to bring in another wide receiver that could be that wide receiver one, while Puka can kind of be that slot option. And so Devontae Adams, what he can do, I thought that was huge for them.
The Rams were right there in the snow game,
right there, and it feels like they could definitely be a team to look out for.
Any snow game, always take the team from Philly over the team from LA.
Yeah, no, take it and take the team.
It's not snowing in LA.
No. And especially when you're playing indoors, always take the team that plays outdoors or in cold weather and in cold weather games like that. We see it every year, every single year. It's all the Dolphins are going to get the Chiefs or whoever,
and they run out there shirtless.
And for the 2 minutes they have their shirts off, and it never works out for them. I just saw this. Jason Munns just reposted this over on Twitter. The Field of 68. They do a bracket show every single week, and they just put out theirs. Rocco Miller, who we've talked about a couple times, he's on this show. They have Memphis as a 6. They have Memphis playing the winner of Indiana, Oklahoma. I'd be completely fine with that.
I think the Tigers would hammer either of those.
I think so. I like that matchup a lot. And Jason Munn said it, and we've been saying it, this late into the season, Brett, counting down the days until we have the actual bracket in front of us, and to have this trading range of you could be anywhere between 6 and 8. I mean, that is just a very wide gap for 6 days until we have the bracket in front of us.
And if Rocco Miller and Field of 68, if they're correct, the Memphis, if they won that game, would get the winner of Kentucky Furman.
How about that? So it'd be fun playing Kentucky in the second round,
wouldn't it?
It'd be a lot of fun. So that I kind of like how that bracket.
Furman's got to win tonight, though.
Yeah, Furman does against Wofford.
One more time, you know what Furman is most famous for? Their most famous player.
I don't.
Frank Selvey scored 100 points in a game.
That's right.
Long time ago.
I'm sure we have more evidence of that than we do of the other 100-point game. But yeah,
Wilton, Hershey, PA. You're still doubting it?
Yeah, whatever it was. I will tell you this: Wofford.
Here's my thing with UFOs. You ready for this? Here's my take.
Sure.
This is as off sports as we'll get.
Yeah.
So they have traveled all these different galaxies, right?
Right.
Through everything.
Allegedly.
All the different through the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't they land?
Well, the people on the other side would say it's not time yet. That they're just observing us. They're just they're just checking us out. Some would say they have. You just don't know it. I mean, some would tell you they've been here, done that.
My other non-sports thing today, the meteor's going to hit us.
Oh, yeah.
That was at 3%, which is a lot.
I mean, I don't want it to be 3%.
Now they've moved it back to 0.
Have they really?
We're all good.
Oh.
You're going to hit in 2030, 3%.
I was about to say, yeah. I'm starting to count my days down, Brett.
Yeah, well, but now 0.
Okay,
so all good there.
I feel better.
But why don't the UFOs ever land?
That's a good question.
We'll park it right here.
Yeah.
They're always zipping through, and
it's true. We should observe it.
Always grainy worsens the Pruder film.
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
How come we can't ratchet that up with
2025?
Give me trillions we spend.
Give me the HD cameras.
Yeah.
I don't need this grainy stuff. Another thing I wanted to mention here during What's Trending, Bovada, the betting service, Bovada has
now we talking.
Odds out. Yes, now we are talking. Odds out for where Cooper Flagg will be next year, obviously, with the draft lottery, everything in here. So I'll go through these real quick. I'll go from worst to best odds. Raptors, plus 1,100. They're a little bit of a better spot. 76ers, plus 1,000. Brooklyn Nets, plus 800. Oh, geez, Brett, don't let me get to the next one. Pelicans, plus 650. Ugh, I don't want them. I don't want them in New Orleans. Jazz, plus 550. I'm fine with all of these except for the Pelicans. They're all, Eastern Conference teams. Hornets plus 550, be completely fine with that. Wizards also at plus 550.
That's where I want him.
At the Wizards?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Wizards would be fine.
Out of the West,
Sure.
and at a place that once was a great NBA town.
The leader for Bovada, plus 290. Duke.
No way. No way.
No chance.
And Duke really thinks that.
No chance.
Did you see his parents' reaction to his dunk?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It didn't bother me at all.
There was not anybody on his head. There was nobody under him. I mean, they were all celebrating, blank, on his head. There was nobody under him.
Brett, I think there's, when you talk about age differences and, generations, I think there might be a little bit of a disconnect with some people. And so I just chalked it up to, hey, they're a little older. They see that happen. People do that all the time. They just chalked it up. Let's do it.
Get ready. They're going to get a lot of camera time.
Oh, man. ACC tournament.
And they like it.
And NCAA tournament, of course. I mean,
you can tell they like the camera.
What's worse, his parents or Chet's dad that had the camera at every game, and he got airtime all the time. And you see him with his camera.
Who was
that
the
looked like it was
kicker in college
2008.
football last year that the dad was always filming? And really wanted to be part of the show.
I don't remember.
Everybody wants to be part of the act.
Yeah, I just remember Chet's dad. Every single time they cut over to him, and it looked like a camera from like 2009. I mean, it was a super old camera, and he's filming everything.
Hitting your phone good enough?
Well, you'd think. I mean, again, 2025. We got good phones.
But I don't want to go after the parents. I don't.
Nah,
because I know they're proud, but there's a lot that really like the camera time.
They don't mind the camera time at all. But yeah, Duke. That's going to be Duke this year is going to be the Reed Shepherd of last year. I mean, it's going to be look at the money we can throw at
more
them.
nauseating.
And it's going to be worse because it's the Brotherhood. And Brett, I like Duke. I'm fine with Duke.
And
I have no problem with
corporate
Duke.
headquarters of the Brotherhood, Wall Street.
That's right. All those doctors and lawyers and
because we're Duke.
Every rich person went to Duke, don't you know?
You think North Carolina's out?
I think so.
David Cobb quickly sit out.
I mean, they got to be. I don't know. I haven't looked where did Lenardi have them in? Where'd Lenardi have them? I didn't really look. They got to be out.
Next four, I think, out.
They got to be out. And I mean.
Which for Hubert Davis, he knows what next year means.
Oh yeah, I mean next year's huge, and I think they've done. They go out and get a GM for the basketball team.
I wasn't knocked over with North Carolina in the make-believe game.
I was excited about them, but I also was just excited North Carolina and some of those players on their team. But no, they haven't been very good this year, and I think they have guards that are good, but they're just. None of them are great, and none of them can really take over.
So you caught none of Josh on any of the college basketball coverage all weekend?
No, I was flipping back and forth.
He was on a lot, and it was CJP in finest form.
If there's a break, I'm switching channels.
Are you?
Finding live action.
He wants, of course, everybody in every conference in the tournament. He said that's what cost Kevin Keats. He didn't get the chance to coach in the tournament. He wants
Kevin Keats worried about getting into his own conference tournament.
He wants him in that. He wants a 900 team NCAA tournament, or as he always says, NC 2A.
Love it.
Always. And it was positive Paul all weekend.
That's him. He didn't cuss at practice. As good as they come.
Do you think the halftime viewers, do you think they want that he's offering?
I would love to get the reaction of Josh Pastner, intermission report guy from like
a focus group.
Dale in Indianapolis or something like that. Like someone who has not experienced Josh like we have experienced Josh here in Memphis. And just like, hey, what do you think about Josh Pastner?
Because obviously his bosses and producers, they don't mind it, or at least don't mind it, maybe like it, or he wouldn't be on.
That's exactly right. And he finds work. I mean, I've seen him on ESPN. I've seen him on Peacock. I've seen him on ACC Network. Well, ACC Network is ESPN. But, I mean, I've seen him on – there's a couple others I could probably list.
Okay, so maybe you don't have to just go in deep on someone, but don't you want a little scrutiny?
I would think so.
And whoever the sidekick was over the weekend, I didn't even know who he was. Malcolm Huckabee.
I'm not familiar with his work.
I didn't know who he was, and I bet he doesn't know who I am. He would try to one-up him in the positivity.
Really? Oh, man.
They were not going to say a negative word about anything.
Positivity just goes around.
And Josh almost exists on TV, and often would hear, that he wants a world where there's no scoreboard. That everybody wins. Well, that's impossible. That's not sports.
No, it's not. You have a winner, you have a loser. That's sports.
And
someone wins, someone loses.
But it was him all weekend.
That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I missed it. I was not. I did not see CJ.
Said winning was hard.
Well,
got to make shots.
You do.
He rolled it all out.
These are the facts.
It was
of
all
basketball.
the hits.
Oh, I love it. I love it. North Carolina, Joe Lunardi has as the second in the first four out. So, I mean, he has them right there knocking on the door.
Well, they have to win in Charlotte.
I can't see him. I can't see him getting in. Maybe not. We'll see. But the fun starts. I mean, tomorrow we get Big 12 tournament started, and then
pretty good tonight, and really gets going tomorrow.
Yeah. Some good games tonight. You know, we got a couple of conference championships. You mentioned
there's a game at
Wofford.
10:30 tonight.
Yeah,
I think
that's the Gonzaga game.
I catch that when I get in from the Grizzlies.
That'll be a fun game. I mean, San Francisco and Gonzaga. That will be a heck of a game.
That Tiger win over San Fran, it mattered.
I think it's a good game. I think it was a really good win. I think it's gonna be a good game tonight. But we got Sun Belt final and SoCon final. Both those starting at 6 o'clock. I'll tell you, Brett, the team that if I ever bet against them, they're always going to win. You can count it, Wofford.
Can't catch up with Wofford.
I have never bet against Wofford and won. Ever. I've bet on Wofford.
Do you know how
won.
few people can say they've never been able to catch up on Wofford?
Not many.
Not many.
I'm in a small group, but it feels like every time I know it's one of those things that now I'll bet against them. I'll be like, oh, this is a game. The other team's got a good edge, and then like 5 minutes later, I'll be like, why did I bet against?
What
Wofford?
time will Pepperdine play tonight?
Pepperdine, I think that's an 8:30 game. 8 o'clock against St. Mary's.
Will they keep the wave going? You see what I did there?
I like that. I don't think so. They're nearly a 20-point underdog tonight.
Famous Memphis Tiger Pepperdine game in the 76 NCAA tournament. A Thursday night on NBC.
Love that.
And it was all Pepperdine.
Shout out Pepperdine.
Marcos Lieti, Ollie Matson Jr., Dennis Johnson on that team.
Wow.
The late, great John Gunn decked Marcos Lieti. Had to go into the Pepperdine locker room and apologize after the game.
I love it. That's great. Shout out to Pepperdine. I know John Harden was not happy that Pepperdine won last night, but
yeah, they play St. Mary's at 8. That's right.
I don't think that
St. Mary's
with Ashton Hardaway, who's not. I looked at going through my John Camden trying to figure out who had scored all the points, stuff like that. Not much playing time for Ashton Hardaway this year.
I'm not saying this to pick on him. I did the same thing. 13 games this year, Bagel. 13 zeros points.
Not great. 1 minute in the last, I think, 2 games logged. So not working out for Ashton Hardaway at St. Mary's. I think we'll see him in the transfer portal at the end of the season. Let's go ahead get to our final break.
I cracked on Vitale, got on Parents, and got on Ashton Hardaway.
And Josh Pastner. Don't forget about Josh.
What a Monday.
What a Monday. Let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Vargas. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous project? Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or in our house has been the Greek seasoning. A father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-822-1598. 800-822-1598. 800-822-1598.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
All aboard, football fans! The Memphis Showboats are back in action with more of the football you love. Join the Showboats at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium March 30th for the opening weekend of the 2025 UFL season as the Boats take on the Michigan Panthers. Kickoff is 11 a.m. Head to UFLShowboats.com now to get your tickets and get more of the touchdown celebrating, high-fiving, bell-ringing action you love. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats!
Listen up, sports fans. Your next winning drive is at Landers Ford in Collierville. That's right. The iconic Landers Easy Pass always delivers more for your trade and their biggest discounts on your next winning drive. See it all now at LandersFordRS.com. Plus, when you love Landers Ford, you get the support of certified service tech that comes right to your driveway with the Landers Ford Service Experience Program. They'll pick it up at the farm or fix it on the spot. Landers Ford in Collierville. They're going to game plan to find you the most savings possible. You can make a trade and possibly lower your payments. And you can buy your current vehicle even if you don't buy from them. It's a tradition things all across the Mid-South line. New Fords and quality pre-owned models are arriving every day. Make a rush. Go see them today in Collierville or online at LandersFordMemphis.com. From the 1977 Ole Miss football team that beat #1 ranked Notre Dame, ladies and gentlemen, the final play of the day comes from president of Landers Ford in Collierville, Don Kitchens. If it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins!
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is the moves are happening in the NFL, and it really is all about the quarterbacks right now. Obviously, a bunch of other moves have been made, but we know the quarterback moves get screamed the loudest. They get the most talk, and you look at some of those moves, and you have Sam Darnold going to and signing with the Seahawks, which I think that was a big question of what happens with Sam Darnold. But then the big one that jumped out to me, Justin Fields signing a 2-year, $40 million deal with the Jets. I don't really understand that. I don't think you're going to sign a backup for that type of deal. I don't see Justin Fields being the answer for the Jets. I just don't understand that at all. But maybe the best thing of the day, we have a trade in the NFL. Kenny Pickett going to the Cleveland Browns for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He sure did. Super Bowl winner for DTR. You know, DTR every year is that answer. For a quarterback goes down, DTR is the one you turn to. So maybe the Eagles will insurance behind Jalen Hurts.
I'm right there. NFL, I learned that Myles Garrett, meet Joe Thomas. Straight from Cleveland to Canton, no doubt about it. Legendary player. Won't be a lot of playoff success. 2 playoff wins since 1994 for the Browns. Baker Mayfield did deliver a playoff win. How's quarterback play been in Cleveland since he left?
Well, it has been non-existent, I would say. What I could have done without today, seeing the bracket for the American Athletic Conference tournament and seeing Wichita State there. Look, I 100% believe that the Memphis Tigers can beat Wichita State, but that doesn't stop those feelings from coming back to me, Brett. Seeing what happened earlier this year.
Just PTSD?
PTSD for sure. Remembering what happened last year. I mean, all that just creeps up. It's creeping up my back, Brett.
I kind of like it. I kind of like that matchup.
I don't want anything. I've told you, Brett. I don't want anything to do with Wichita.
The post player, Ballard. Yeah, I am kind of scared of him. You got me worried now.
Quincy Ballard. Quincy Ballard's having 15 against you.
He blew out Sindor against the Tigers.
Crazy.
I could have done without fair or not. Kevin Keats out a year after reaching college basketball's promised land. 14-11 in 2021 season, 11-21 in 21-22 season, and then last year to the Final Four. Every analyst loves that fired coach, though, and every analyst also says this about him, that he's going to work tomorrow. Well, if he's going to work tomorrow, then why feel so bad about it?
Right. Well, because he won't be making as much money as he's making in.
But he's going to get the payout.
That's true. That's true. He will have the payout. That will make up for it. But I don't know. I don't see where Kevin Keats lands, really. I mean, he'll land somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Where are you beaming tonight?
Sun Belt Final, Pensacola, Arkansas State. If they win, that means 3 of the 5 Tiger losses were to NCAA tournament teams. Auburn and Mississippi State, and Arkansas State if they win tonight. Temple and Wichita State. I don't think we're bad losses on the road in a conference.
No, I mean, look.
One was overtime.
Exactly. Conference losses happen. Certainly on the road, they happen. Let's just go out there and see what Tigers can do down in Fort Worth. Beam me tonight to the Grizzlies game against the Phoenix Suns. This is a team that Memphis has beaten 3 times. They've met 3 times. They've beaten them 3 times. But we talk about it. Only 7 points or less in all of those wins. It was a 7-point win. It was a 5-point win. And then we know the 3-point win that happened when the Grizzlies needed to force overtime. So we'll see what happens tonight. Obviously, with Jaren Jackson Jr. out, DeMichael talked about it earlier. That's one less star that Phoenix has to focus on tonight. So we'll see what happens in that one. But looking forward to see what John Morant and Desmond Bane, after back-to-back really good games from both those guys, can they do that again tonight against the Suns?
I'm heading to FedEx Forum right now for that one. No way it can be like 2 weeks ago tomorrow night. Southern Conference Final, we'll watch that tonight. Wofford, the team you can't catch up with, against Furman. Take Furman tonight then.
No, I'd need to take Wofford. Okay. Because every time I bet against Wofford, they win. So I need to take Wofford.
Gonzaga, real late. Also late in the NBA. Denver and Oklahoma City.
Yeah, this can
go really OKC. Good. We need that.
Yeah, no, you definitely do. I mean, you're looking at those 2 teams, the Lakers and Denver in front of you. You need one of those. Start taking some losses if you want to jump them. Pretty good night when it comes to college basketball. All the tournaments going on. You've got the late night one, San Francisco, Gonzaga. I think that's going to be a really fun game in the WCC semifinals. But it's going to be fun. And then tomorrow, Big 12 gets started, and we'll have all-day basketball, all the big conferences getting ready to start. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.